Breaking news here on CNN Philippines, Chinese President Xi Jinping has arrived in the country. What you're seeing now are live pictures at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, where an Air China plane carrying the Chinese president has landed at NAIA Terminal 1. The red carpet is already rolled out, and the welcoming ceremony, or the welcome ceremony, is already awaiting President Xi Jinping as he arrives in Manila. Welcoming the Chinese president are Philippine Ambassador to China Chito Santa Romana, Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez, Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines Xiao Jinhua, NAIA General Manager Ed Monreal. President Xi is here for a two-day state visit. This afternoon, he is expected to lay a wreath at the Luneta Park before he officially is welcomed in Malacanang. While at the palace, Mr. Xi will have an expanded bilateral meeting with President Rodrigo Duterte and witness the signing and exchange of agreements between the two countries. The two leaders will also deliver a joint press statement before they attend a state banquet. Tomorrow, November 21st, Wednesday, President Xi will meet with Senate President Vicente Sotto III and House Speaker Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. He will then meet with the leaders of the Chinese Filipino community before leaving the country. Again, we're showing you live pictures from NAIA Terminal 1, where just a few minutes ago, an Air China plane carrying Chinese President Xi Jinping landed at the NAIA Terminal 1. Philippine officials are awaiting his arrival when he comes out of the plane. And this will be the first time a sitting Chinese president will be visiting the Philippines in 13 years. The last visit of a sitting Chinese president was in 2005. He comes out now of, this is the Chinese president to the, Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Xiao Jinhua, and other Chinese officials. Is Chinese President Xi Jinping as he arrives in Manila for a two-day state visit. These are live pictures from the NAIA Terminal 1, and welcoming the Chinese president are some officials from the Philippine government headed by Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez, Philippine Ambassador to China Chito Santa Romana, Chinese Ambassador Xiao Jinhua, and Pasay City Mayor Antonino Calixto, and also the General Manager of the NAIA, Ed Monreal. Again, this is the first state visit of Xi Jinping to the Philippines. In 2016, President Duterte visited or had a state visit in China. And in that visit of President Duterte in China 2 years ago, $24 billion of trade and investment deals were signed. We're also expecting similar deals to be signed while he's here during the meeting later on today with President Rodrigo Duterte. Beside the Chinese president is the Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Xiao Jinhua. We also see Secretary Sonny Dominguez in the back. And arrival honors are being given now by Philippine officials to President Xi Jinping, his first state visit here in Manila. His next official schedule will be the wreath laying in Luneta later on, and we will bring you The latest on his visit here in Manila today and tomorrow. Balitaan is up next. Please stay tuned to CNN Philippines. I'm Cherry Mercado. Good morning.
Narito na ang balitaan sa CNN Philippines. Chinese President Xi Jinping dumating na sa Pilipinas para sa isang makasaysayang state visit. Tanghali, ako po si Pinky Webb. Matapos ang 13 taon dumating na sa bansa si Chinese President Xi Jinping para sa isang state visit. Itinuturing na isang makasaysayang pagbisita ito, hudyat ng patuloy na bumubuting relasyon sa pagitan ng dalawang bansa. Naging mas mainit ang relasyon ng Pilipinas at China mula nang maupo sa pwesto si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa kabila ng agawan ng teritoryo sa South China Sea. Tinawag pang most respected at important friend ni President Xi si Pangulong Duterte. At dumating na nga si President Xi Jinping kani-kanina lamang sa Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 1, kaya't patuloy ang paghihigpit ng seguridad sa mga lugar na dadaanan at pupuntahan ng Chinese President. Nakaantabay ang puwersa ng CNN Philippines sa makasaysayang pagbisitang ito. Nasa naiya ang aming correspondent na si Trisha Terada, si George Cahiles naman, tinututukan ang seguridad sa pagbisita ng Chinese President. Nasa Maynila siya ngayon, habang ang aming senior correspondent naman na si David Santos nasa Chinese Consulate sa Makati kung saan nagpoprotesta ang ilang grupo laban sa China. Unahin na natin kamustahin ang sitwasyon sa NAIA Terminal 1 kung saan dumating na nga si Chinese President Xi Jinping. Naroon ang aming correspondent na si Trisha Terada. Trisha?
Yes, thank you. Dumating na nga si Chinese President Xi Jinping dito sa bansa. Lumapag ang kanyang eroplano dito sa NAIA Terminal 1 pasado alas 11 ng umaga. At ilang minuto nga lang nakakaraan, sumakay na siya sa kanyang official vehicle. Sinalubong siya ni Philippine Ambassador to China, Vito Santa Romana, Chinese Ambassador Zhao Jinhua, Finance Secretary Son Dominguez, NAIA General Manager Edmond Real at Pasay City Mayor Emmy Calixto. Mahigpit ang seguridad dito sa Terminal 1. Pagpasok pa lang sa terminal ay kapansin-pansin ng Police of Security Reinforcement kung saan may mga nakaposteng Special Action Force units ng kapulisyahan na nag-inspeksyon sa mga gate. At dahil nga 2 araw lang ang ilalagi ni President Xi Jinping sa Maynila, puno ang kanyang schedule ngayong araw. Pagkatapos dito sa NAIA Terminal 1 ay pupuntahan o pangungunahan niya ang isang wreath-laying ceremony sa Rizal Park sa Maynila. Pagkatapos noon ay official siyang sasalubungin ni President Rodrigo Duterte.
Nawala sa linya ng telepono si Trisha Terada. Balikan natin maya-maya lamang ang kanyang report hinggil nga sa pagdating ni President Xi dito sa Pilipinas aboard yung kanilang airline nga na Air China. Dumating siya bago magtanghali. Kani-kanina lamang at sinalubong ng ilang mga opisyal dyan sa NAIA Terminal 1. Ma-jam pack po ang schedule ng Chinese President dahil 2 araw lang siyang mananatili dito sa ating bansa. At balikan na natin ngayon si Trisha Terada. Trisha, naputol ka kanina.
Thank you. Ngayong araw nga, pagkatapos dumating o pagkatapos daluhan ni President Xi Jinping ang wreath-laying ceremony sa Maynila, ay sasalumugin siya ni President Rodrigo Duterte sa Malacanang. Magkakaroon ng bilateral meeting at joint press statement pero hindi ito bukas sa question and answer mula sa media. Pagkatapos ay mayroon pang restricted meeting at pagpapalitan ng mga regalong inaasahang magaganap. Inaasahan na magkakapirmahan ng mga kasunduan ng mga proyekto sa pagitan ng China at Pilipinas. Magtatapos ang kanyang araw sa isang state banquet. Ito yung unang beses sa nakaraang 13 taon na magkakaroon ng state visit ang presidente ng China. Ang huling state visit ng Chinese president ay naganap noong termino ni Hu Jintao noong 2005. At ngayon nga, ikatatanggap-tanggap lang natin ng arrival statement ni President Xi Jinping. At ang bahagi nito ay sinasabi niya, inaasahan niyang makita si President Rodrigo Duterte. Babasahin lang natin yung portion nitong arrival statement. He's looking forward to an in-depth exchange of views on how to further strengthen China-Philippine relations and on regional and international issues of mutual interest. I will also meet with House Speaker Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo and Senate President Vicente Soto III. I am convinced that this visit will cement the traditional friendship, deepen the mutually beneficial cooperation, and enhance the joint efforts of the two sides for common development. It will surely inject fresh, strong impetus into the good neighborly relations and friendship between our two countries for the benefit of our people. And of course, yan ay isang portion mula doon sa arrival statement ni President Xi Jinping. Thank you.
So Tricia, naging madali lang sa kanyang pagdating, sinalubong nga siya ng ilan sa mga, yung Chinese ambassador to the Philippines and likewise Philippine ambassador to China, si Finance Secretary Sunny Dominguez. Pagkatapos nun ay, after the shaking hands that we're showing on the screen, umalis na si President Xi.
Yes, thank you. Tama ka dyan. Napakabilis niya nung pagdating niya, paglalapag ng aeroplano, bumaba siya agad. Binelcome siya ng mga representante ng Pilipinas, kagaya ng mga nabanggit ko kanina. At wala hindi masyadong time for photo opportunity na nabigay sa media. Basta bigla na lang ang sabi na pumasok sa kanyang sasakyan at umalis na nga yung kanyang convoy. Thank you.
Ayun, all right. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Tricia Terrara, nag-uulat mula sa NAIA. Nag-ikot rin kanina umaga si NCRPO Chief Guillermo Eleazar at ininspeksyon ang mga lugar na pupuntahan ni Chinese President Xi Jinping. Makibalita tayo sa aming correspondent na si George Cahiles. George.
Well, Pinky, all systems go na nga daw pagdating sa seguridad sa pagbisita itong si Chinese President Xi Jinping dito sa bansa. At kaninang umaga nga ay nag-ikot nga yang si Metro Manila Police Chief Guillermo Eleazar dito sa iba't ibang lugar kung saan magkakaroon ng mga aktibidad itong si President Xi. At nakapwesto na nga daw doon yung mahigit 6,000 mga pulis para ensure itong security dyan sa mga lugar na yan, maging yung mga ruta na dadaanan nito. At dito nga sa Rizal Park, kung saan magkakaroon ng wreath-laying ceremony mamaya, ay kasalukuyang sarado ito sa publiko at bubuksan lamang daw ito kapag katapos ng activity ni President Xi dito mamaya. At dito nga sa paligid ng Rizal Park, kada 5 metro ay may nakapwestong pulis. Kaya ganyan yung seguridad dito sa area sa kasalukuyan.
Pulis dito, di ba? Bakit di natin gamitin? Remember, this is a president of a country na bumibisita sa atin dito. When the president of the Philippines visited China, yung kanilang security coverage mas matindi pa kaysa ginawa sa atin dito. So sa atin, gusto na natin siguraduhin na maging maayos ito. At kung meron naman tayong resources, we have the capability, we have the personnel, bakit hindi natin ibigay ang itong ganitong security coverage na pwede natin ibigay sa kanila?
Sa ngayon ay wala naman daw silang namomonitor na imminent threat dito sa Metro Manila sa pagbisita itong si President Xi. Pero just the same, kailangan daw nilang ensure na naka-alerto sila all the time. At gaya nga ng bilin ni Eleazar kanina ay sa mga pulis kanina, sinasabi niya na huwag nilang hahayaang malusutan sila. Pinky.
So, George, inaasahan ba nating darating na dyan si President Xi anumang oras ngayon?
Well, ngayon Pinky hindi pa kasi mga bandang alas 4 pa yung expected activity na dito sa area ng Rizal Park. Pero sa ngayon, yung mga kalsada na dadaanan ni President Xi mamaya ay bukas pa. Ang sabi sa atin ng mga pulis, sasaraduhan lang daw nila yan once makakuha sila ng alert na malapit ng dumaan yung convoy nitong si Chinese President Xi dito sa area ng Maynila. Pinky.
Meron bang plano ang pulis sa mga, ano kaya ang kanilang gagawin sa mga may planong magprotesta, George?
Well, no permit, no rally policy. Ang sinasabi ng mga pulis ito, hindi daw nila hahayaang makalapit sa mga areas of activity nitong si President Xi, itong mga magpoprotesta. Pero kung may mga area naman daw, mga freedom parks, pwede sila magprotesta doon. At kung malayo sa areas of activity, ay pwede naman daw nilang pag-usapan yung isasagawang protesta sa area. Pinky.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyo, George Cahiles, nag-uulat. Samantala, suspendido nga ang klase sa buong Maynila. At 3 barangay sa Taguig City kasabay ng state visit ni President Xi. Wala rin pasok sa mga tanggapan ng gobyerno ngayong araw sa Maynila. Isinara naman ang ilang kalsada ngayon sa Maynila, Taguig. Makikita po sa inyong mga screen ang apektadong mga daan. Kaya't inaabisuhan ng mga motoristang gamitin po ang mga alternatibong ruta. Dumako naman tayo sa Chinese consulate sa Makati kung saan nagprotesta ang ilang grupo kontra naman sa pagbisita ng Chinese President. Makibalita tayo sa aming senior correspondent na si David Santos. David?
Pinky, kung mapapansin mo sa aking likuran, medyo tahimik na dito sa tapat ng Chinese Consulate Office dito sa Makati. A few minutes before we went on air, voluntarily nag-disperse yung mga iba't ibang grupo, mga cross-oriented groups na nagsagawa ng rally dito, maging yung mga tauhan ng Makati at NCRPO, PNP na nag-provide ng security dito. Pero kanina, kasabay ng pagdating ni Chinese President Xi Jinping, nagsagawa ng noise barrage yung mga protesters dito. Ang kanilang sigaw, China, layas, atin ang Pinas, Philippines is not for sale. Puro mga ganito, mga mensahe ng nasyonalismo ang kanilang isinisigaw. Kabilang sa mga issue kanilang ni-raise yung pagbatikos, karamihan ito, no? Pagbatikos sa China, particular yung hindi paggalang raw ng Chinese government sa desisyon ng International Tribunal kaugnay sa South China Sea. At binatikos din nila ang patuloy na reclamation at gayon din militarization sa mga isla dyan sa South China Sea, maging sa mga lugar na kiniklaim din natin sa West Philippine Sea. Binatikos rin nila yung pagpapautang raw ng China sa pamamagitan ng proyektong Build, Build, Bid na ayon sa kanila, indikasyon daw ito ng pagtalikod ng Pilipinas sa naging desisyon ng International Tribunal at sumang-ayon na lang sa mga pagpapautang ng China, at ayon sa kanila ay magiging hawak raw sa leeg ng China ang mga Pilipino oras na ipatupad ang mga proyektong ito. Kasabay ng rally nito ang pagpapalabas ng survey, ng isang nationwide survey kung saan pinapalabas mataas pa rin talaga yung level of distrust ng mga Pilipino pagdating sa Chinese government. Ayon sa mga ralista dito kanina, karapatan ng mga Pilipino na malaman ang mga detalye ng mga kasunduan na pipirmahan sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at ng Chinese government during the state visit ni President Xi Jinping. Ayon sa kanila, kailangan daw malaman ng mga Pilipino ang nilalaman, particularly yung mga detalye ng mga kasunduang ito. Sa kabuuan naman, Pinky, naging tahimik ang rally kanina. May pinauso pa lang bagong term si May Panera, ang kilalang women's rights advocate kanina. Sabi niya dapat i-memorize daw ng mga Pilipino at ibigkas ang words, Chinese words na Tao Kai, Tokai, na ibig sabihin sa Mandarin ay go away, referring to Chinese President Xi Jinping. So ito yung mga kaganapan dito kanina, no, bago tuluyan silang nag-disperse. Ang balita natin, mula dito, lilipat na sila sa Luneta kung saan na may isasagawa ang may wreath-laying ceremony mamaya si Chinese President Xi Jinping, at maaaring tatangkain din nilang magsagawa ng protesta at iparating kay President Xi ang kanilang mga saloobin. Pinky.
Pero alam mo, David, nandun lang at si George, napakahigpit ng seguridad doon sa Rizal Monument. Sabi nga ni George, kada daw 5 meters may pulis na nakabantay.
Dito naman sa Makati, kanina may mga 100 na mga pulis. Napakalinyet pa actually ng Makati PNP na kasabay ng Pateros PNP. Pinayagan silang Actually, ang unang plano was mag-rally sila dito mismo sa kalye. Pero ang sabi ng mga protesters mismo, baka naman makaabala sila sa traffic. So pinayagan silang lumipat mismo doon sa may sidewalk, sa tapat mismo ng building. Pero nakaharang yung mga pulis. Maganda naman kanilang dialogo kung kaya't nagkasundo sila na walang mga protesters na pilit na lalapit sa Chinese Embassy at kung kaya't naging maayos at matiwasay naman ang pagsasagawa ng rally dito kanina, Pinky. Maraming
salamat sa iyo, David Santos, nag-uulat. At sa aming pagbabalik, karamihan mga Pilipino di sang-ayon sa umano'y kawalan ng aksyon ng Pilipinas sa usapin ng South China Sea. Nagbabalik ang balitaan dito sa CNN Philippines. Lumabas sa pinakabagong survey ng social weather stations, karamihan sa mga Pilipino ay tutol sa kawalan ng aksyon ng gobyerno sa panghihimasok ng China sa West Philippine Sea. Sa datos ng SWS, 84% sa mga respondent ang nagsabing hindi tama na hayaan ng pamahalaan ng China na magtayo ng mga infrastruktura at mag-deploy ng kanilang mga sundalo sa pinag-aagawang teritoryo. Nadagdagan din ang bilang ng mga Pilipinong nagkaroon ng kaalaman tungkol sa agawan sa West Philippine Sea. Mula 81% noong Hunyo, tumaas ito sa 89% nitong Setyembre. Isinagawa ang survey September 15 hanggang 23 na may higit 1,500 respondents. Samantala, kinwestiyon naman ng Malacanang ang timing sa pagpapalabas ng SWS ng survey nito ukol nga sa issue sa West Philippine Sea. Sa isang pahayag, sinabi ni Presidential Spokesman Sal Panelo, misleading ang tanong sa survey dahil pinapaniwala nitong walang aksyon ang pamahalaan para matugunan ang agawan ng teritoryo. Anya, noon pa man, ginagawa na ng Administrasyong Duterte ang lahat ng paraan para protektahan ang nasasakupan ng bansa. Hinimok ni na Senador Antonio Trillanes at Kiko Pangilinan ng Executive Department na ilabas ang definitive draft ng Oil and Gas Exploration Agreement sa pagitan ng China at ng Pilipinas bago ito lagdaan. Naghain ng resolusyon ng dalawang senador hinggil dito. Nais din nilang imbestigahan ng Senate Committee on Energy ang anumang kasunduan sa oil at gas exploration kasama ang China. Ayon kina Trillanes at Pangilinan, may nagawa na umanong draft ng China hinggil sa joint exploration na pinamagatang Framework Agreement on Joint Maritime Oil and Gas Exploration between China and the Philippines. Anila, labag sa konstitusyon ang umano'y binuong draft ng Beijing dahil mawawala daw ang exclusive sovereign rights ng Pilipinas sa sarili nitong likas na yaman.
So we need transparency at magpapatawag tayo ng Senate investigation along those lines. We are demanding for transparency. Ano ba yung pipirma niyan? Baka masusubo na tayo kaagad dyan. So we're calling them out. Walang consultations nangyari with the legislature. Alam niyo to si Duterte kung ano-anong mga transaksyon na palugi na ang pinasok. Kaya hindi ako magtataka na papasok na naman yan sa isang transaksyon na pagbabayaran ng mga kababayan natin for the decades to come.
At yan ang kabuuan ng balitaan ngayong Martes, November 20, 2018. Ako po si Pinky Webb. Hanggang bukas, magandang tanghali.
Good afternoon. You're watching the special coverage of CNN Philippines on the state visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Manila before noon today. Philippine Ambassador to China, Chito Santaromana, Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines, Zhao Jianhua, Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez, Armed Forces Chief Carlito Galvez, and NAIA General Manager Ed Monreal welcomed Mr. Xi. In an arrival statement, the Chinese leader said he looks forward to meeting with President Duterte for, quote, an in-depth exchange of views on how to further strengthen China-Philippine relations and on regional and international issues of mutual interest, unquote. President Xi also mentioned his upcoming meeting with Senate President Vicente Soto III and House Speaker Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. He says he's convinced that his visit would strengthen bilateral ties towards common development. President Xi also expected to lay a wreath at the Rizal Monument in Luneta Park in Manila before proceeding to Malacanang for a welcome ceremony at the palace. Mr. Xi will have an expanded bilateral meeting with President Duterte, and both will witness the signing and exchange of agreements. The two leaders will deliver a joint press statement before attending a state banquet tomorrow. Tomorrow, President Xi will see and meet Senate President Tito Soto and House Speaker Gloria Arroyo before proceeding to meet with leaders of the Chinese-Filipino community. Mr. Xi returns to Beijing after that. The National Capital Region Police Office earlier said over 5,000 policemen have been deployed to ensure public safety. At this very moment, President Xi now on his way to Manila from Taguig for a wreath-laying ceremony at the Luneta Park. Our Makoy Popioko is standing by. Makoy, what's happening right now?
Yes, President Xi Jinping is scheduled to lay a wreath here at the Rizal Monument in Manila at 4:15 p.m. But we're getting information from officials that this may be pushed back for a couple of minutes. Security is extremely tight. Hundreds of policemen have been deployed to secure the premises of Luneta Park. We have also spotted two armored personal carriers of the armed forces. Personnel with bomb-sniffing dogs are also patrolling the vicinity non-stop. Even for the members of the media, we have to go through 2 levels of frisking. Some Chinese representatives have arrived here as early as 3 p.m. They help local officials prepare for the wreath laying. Chinese flags are also raised here at the monument. A few minutes from now, President Xi will lay a wreath here at the Rizal Monument. Manila Mayor Joseph Estrada will welcome him. Estrada arrived here at the monument shortly before 4 p.m. Authorities have implemented a rerouting scheme on roads surrounding Luneta Park. As early as 3 p.m., the following roads have been closed. The north and southbound lane of Rojas Boulevard from Katigbak Drive to P. Ocampo. Also the north and southbound lane of Bonifacio Drive from Anda Circle to Katigbak Drive. The east and westbound lane of P. Burgos from Lagusnilad to Rojas Boulevard. And also the east and westbound lane of Finance Road from Taft Avenue to P. Burgos. The east and westbound lane of TM Calao from MH Del Pilar to Rojas Boulevard. Also the east and westbound lane of President Quirino Avenue from MH Del Pilar to Rojas Boulevard. And the stretch of Solano from P. Casal to JP Laurel. For vehicles coming from the northern part of Manila, passing Rojas Boulevard, the southbound lane or the southbound lane, they shall take A. Soriano, go straight to Magallanes Drive, right to P. Burgos, and straight to Lagusnilad to their point of destination. All vehicles coming from FB Harrison shall turn right to P. Ocampo or go straight to Mabini, while vehicles coming from Jones, MacArthur, and Quezon Bridge going to Rojas Boulevard via P. Burgos should go straight to Taft Avenue. Motorists coming from Ayala Boulevard shall turn left or right to Taft Avenue, and those coming from the westbound lane of PM Calao shall turn right to MH Del Pilar to their point of destination. All vehicles coming from the westbound lane of President Quirino shall turn left to Adriatico. In a statement on Monday, President Xi boasted of the Philippines' shared history. He said the Filipino and Chinese people have a lot of proud names to remember when it comes to our shared history. One of the names she mentioned is, of course, the national hero of the Philippines, Dr. Jose Rizal, whose monument he is visiting today. And Chinese officials who are already here say that this is a special occasion for the Chinese president, again, because of the Philippines or the Chinese shared history with the Philippines. Yeah.
Yeah, McCoy, before anything else, the skies look a little bit overcast right now. Is that correct? Looks like there's going to be a drizzle.
Well,
yeah. Mukhang aambon, di ba? Or madilim lang yung monitor ko.
Well, it's really gloomy here in Manila now, and the members of the media were actually worried because our setup here doesn't have any roof at all. So yes, it's gloomy. It's not yet drizzling, and So far, everything's looking set,
okay.
apart from the fact that it's gloomy here in Manila now.
All right, so sky's a bit overcast, like you said, a little bit gloomy, and you said the schedule's been pushed back a few minutes. It is 4:12 in the afternoon. This was supposed to happen at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But earlier we were showing live video, if I'm not mistaken, from Taguig, where the Chinese president is motoring from. So we're going to put that video back up in just a bit, or at least show a replay of that. In the meantime, you mentioned there that we have that video there. In the meantime, you mentioned Manila Mayor. And that video, by the way, is still in Taguig, where he is coming from. McCoy, you mentioned Joseph Estrada, the mayor of the city of Manila, who's there. Are there Duterte cabinet officials present at the Luneta Park, at the Rizal Monument?
Yes, the Manila Mayor Joseph Estrada arrived here shortly before 4 p.m. And right now we're seeing only President or former President Estrada as among the government officials to welcome President Xi here. But other cabinet members, we're not seeing anyone from the President's cabinet here at the Rizal Monument now.
And of course, we take note and notice of the fact that, as we all know, those flags at Luneta, those flagpoles at Luneta always have the Philippine flag. But now that the country is welcoming a leader of another country, his country's flag is flying on the left side, the flag of the People's Republic of China. McCoy, nabanggit mo rin, no, yung mga rerouting that's been going on. What kind of effect does this have on traffic? Are there traffic jams in the area or in the area surrounding Manila? Of course, but of course we know that classes were suspended. If I'm not mistaken, even office work suspended for the day. To give way for this state visit.
Well, yes, Pia. In fact, on our way here at around 2 p.m., the roads surrounding Luneta Park are already congested, and understandably, because the immediate surrounding roads here at the Luneta Park have been closed as early as 3 p.m. So, extreme traffic congestion is expected. That's why authorities are also advising motorists to take alternate routes and, if possible, avoid this area of Manila.
Yeah, unless, of course, they would like to see President Xi Jinping in person. But, they can always watch him on TV. But, and of course, on the internet. McCoy also, kanina, pinapakita natin yung mga, all the armed forces personnel who are standing at attention there in front of the monument of Jose Rizal. I noticed there was, I'm not sure, was that a platoon or a brigade or a battalion of honor guards. Will there be a gun salute also? Kanina, bandang nasa kanan, no, to the right of the flag, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that is not clear yet. Earlier, we witnessed the rehearsal, and we asked some Malacanang officials here about the details, if there's going to be a gun salute, and they haven't really come back to us and clarify if there will be. But there is a marching band to welcome President Xi,
okay.
And
banda ba yun? Sorry.
It is. There is a marching band.
Okay.
Yes,
ang labo pala ng mata ko. Okay. All right.
Yes, it is a marching band.
Okay. So, just to summarize what you're saying, McCoy, and we hope to get you back the minute you spot the vehicles or the convoy of President Xi. Just to summarize, like you were saying earlier, everything is on schedule. They're just waiting for President Xi Jinping to arrive at the Luneta Park at the Rizal Monument. Sky's a bit overcast, like you said, a little bit gloomy because of the weather. Manila Mayor Joseph Estrada there. There are road closures that were ordered for the city of Manila. Classes called off, work called off. And of course, the rerouting has caused a little bit of traffic jams, but we're just waiting for this to get off the ground, in so many words. So we're going to talk to you again, McCoy, in just a bit. McCoy Popioko there, reporting live from the Rizal Monument in Luneta Park. Joining us now here in the studio, political analyst Dindo Manhit. Dindo, you're always here. and every little and big thing that happens in this country and in the world, nandito ka. So we have today a historic visit of the Chinese president. Historic because, well, after moving away from our traditional ally, the United States of America, we have a very new best friend, BFF, no? The People's Republic of China. What are your initial thoughts? No, I know this is a state visit that's just about to start, but your initial thoughts first.
What we are seeing is reflective of our government's position. And I emphasize government's position because I think we woke up this morning also with the news that Social Weather Station did the survey and showed that we continue as a people, as a nation, to distrust China and also not to accept their actions vis-a-vis our own territory. But we should not focus on that. Maybe we should focus on the possibility that a head of state visiting the country can bring in investments or trade that can deliver or contribute to development in the Philippines. But that's really the backdrop of here we are, openly being welcomed by the president, but on the other hand, the Filipino people says in a scientific survey that they view things differently.
Yeah. You brought up many different points. I hope to be able to tackle each one of them. Let's begin with, kasi ang sabi nila no, na magpipirmahan ng 10 agreements, no? And mostly, if I'm not mistaken, infrastructures.
Yes.
Ito yung mga build projects. At the same time, there was that question, that speculation, if you will, na paano na yung joint exploration? So, ano mangyayari doon? Ano? That's another joint exploration, sorry, of for oil. That's another sticky question that has yet to be resolved. At the same time, you have, well, this neighbors quarrel over a few islands, a few pieces of territory in the South China Sea / West Philippine Sea.
Of course, with the agreements that will be signed regarding infrastructure, these are positive developments because the president, since day one, has really built his development initiatives on what he calls build. And he has seen some positive response, especially with another neighbor, Japan. And now we see China signing or offering maybe their development assistance because we all need to react to it. We haven't, nobody has really seen some of these agreements. We have heard of Chico Dam, Kaliwa Dam, or possible railway towards the south of Luzon or a Mindanao. So a lot of speculation. So it's good if there are concrete measures because I'd like to remind everybody, of course, that our own president visited China October 2016.
15, no?
16.
2016.
2016. 2015, actually, President Xi was here for the APEC.
Okay.
So when people say it's 13, it's the first visit of, we seem to have forgotten that he was here for a couple of days during the APEC in 2015. That's November.
Pero first state
visit.
Yes.
In this, of course, 2016, there was a lot of statements made with regards to this $24 billion of investments coming from China. So maybe this is 2 years after, we might see substance on those announcements, something concrete. So that's quite positive. Of course, the fear of some people is really the history of China experience in other countries, especially less developed countries. I'm not saying
What do you mean?
You would always hear this phrase, the debt
trap.
issues, the debt trap.
Na sinabi naman daw ni Ben Diok no, na hindi daw mangyayari yun sa atin.
Because at the end of the day, our economic managers, it's their responsibility and accountability that we will not fall into this trap because at the end of the day, loans, agreements outlast a government.
Yeah.
That means President Duterte government will not be around given our constitutional limitation by 2022, and we will still be saddled by some of these debts or a lot of these debts. So those are challenges that.
But Ben Diokno was, very emphatic about it.
That's why
His assurance that
that's
we
why
will
I
not
believe that
fall into the trap.
our economic managers is committing to it,
Yeah.
and I think is putting their efforts to ensure that this will not happen to us. So the fine prints of the agreements are very important.
Yeah.
That could assuage certain concerns or just uncertain feeling that we might be lumped towards this part of the world, which has been, you place some of your patrimony to what we call debt trap, no? Or para collateral, para simplihan natin yung words. But, and also, you have to realize that you tend to compare, because last year, Japan on one hand laid out a lot of infrastructure programs with a very nice package in terms of interest rate. So you ask yourself,
Bakit
China should be offering us the same thing if they're really our good neighbor, our good friend. And you would see more...
Our brothers.
Our brothers. For me, I'd rather good neighbor, good. Because at the end of the day, we have our own Filipino culture. They're migrants, but at the end of the day, we are the Filipino nation, and we have to treat our neighbors as our possible partners. And this is what we hope to see with this visit of President Xi.
Well, when we talk about those 10 agreements, like you said, no, we don't have all the details yet.
Yes.
We hope they will become available the minute they're signed. Sana i-release ka agad ng Malacanang para mabasa natin mabuti, matingnan natin lahat ng detalye. When we talk about investments, for example, because that's one thing that President Duterte and his cabinet like to talk about now. When we rebuilt our relationship with China, with Beijing, that this is going to mean more investments from China coming in, and that's going to mean more jobs, more money, a better economy for the Philippines. Is that what we're really looking forward to?
Any opportunity for investments that can create jobs will always be positive. The question is what kind of investments, what sector will it generate jobs? Again, it goes to the fear that they might invest on infrastructure but bring in
their own people.
Their own people. Then you compete with our own people, considering that our basic concern in our country is not only poverty and higher cost of living, but the root cause of that is lack of jobs. And we have seen, again, latest surveys on joblessness. There seems to be some uptick that is tumataas ng konti. So those are things, again, unlike it's very clear when you say, this company goes into the Philippines, for example, business process outsourcing, jobs will be created. Manufacturing, companies from Japan investing in export zones. It's clear that they might bring Japanese leadership, management,
executives,
but then that it's Filipino people they're going here because of the talent and the skills that we have. But the last that we have heard of a big investment really from China, and it's a very positive investment, was as far back as 2007 when the State Grid of China invested in the National
Grid Corporation of the
Philippines. That was nearly a decade ago, where we saw at least maybe 20 to 30 technical leadership of the State Grid working with Filipinos as they
Naging issue pa nga
privatize.
yan, di ba? Dahil ang working visa
That's
na
right.
binibigay
And they
natin ay pang 30 days lang. So
And
they
they
had to keep...
were just 27 of them. And these are very highly technical people. For me, they deserve to have been here because I think they were part of that Filipino consortium because they bring in their capacity to improve our grid. So we won't mind that. But the moment you see, and it's being seen now and felt in some places, the rise
you
of...
see them bringing in their own workers.
Yes, because there are some reports, and people seem to have seen it, that this online gaming investment that is creating a lot of entry from, and I think in terms of work visas to certain Chinese. Is it creating jobs? Is it really creating investment? Are they paying taxes? Are they paying fees to our PAGCOR? So it raises those questions. So as I've said, people tend to compare. And people would like to see this big legitimate Chinese state enterprises or even big Chinese companies that we hear that is driving the world economy come in here. But not, that's why we don't mind. Huawei has been here in our telecoms industry. We don't really mind that, though some people question their presence, but still, because we know that they bring in something, technology.
In other words, kung magdadala kayo ng investment dito, pwede ba yung trabaho para sa Pilipino?
Oo, kasi
Gano'n na lang.
di ba may katakot-takutan na blacklisted companies, blacklisted for corruption purposes, blacklisted for bad corporate governance.
Yeah.
I mean, kawawa naman tayo kung considering we are on our way, as we have said, we have tried to build an economy that has been hitting 6% growth for years, even before this government. So you'd like to see quality investments. And that's what you hope when President Xi Jinping signs this agreement, encourages China to come in here. But not, as I've said, I heard there's this rise of 5 to 56 licenses on online gaming. I mean, who would like to be known as the online gaming capital of the world? It creates a negative vibes.
Yeah, okay. Dito, let's talk about China as well, the new world power. You know, a lot of people say the new center of the world is not the U.S. anymore. Now it's the People's Republic of China. And so many things have changed in the last few years. It's interesting because it's happening on the heels or in the aftermath, if you will, of this so-called pivot to Asia that the former Obama administration tried to do. And then now you have China. And syempre tayo mga Pilipino, and let's say it very honestly, no? Sanay tayo sa Amerikano, parang ganun, no? Long-time ally, very Western in thinking, upbringing, etc. No? And then all of a sudden we have China as the new best friend of the Philippines. No? But you
Again,
know, a lot of people...
Not the Filipino people.
Yeah, okay.
I want to emphasize that China still has a lot of things to do in terms of building the trust among the Filipino people. They seem to be the best friend of the leadership now.
Yeah.
But governments exist for the Filipino people, so we have to remind ourselves that. What do we need to overcome that mistrust or that distrust?
Yeah, okay. Well, do you have the answer for that?
I think, as you've said, culturally, traditionally, we still see Western friends and allies.
Yeah, we're seeing live pictures right now. If I'm not mistaken, this is Chinese President Xi Jinping arriving at the Luneta Park at the Rizal Monument to lay a wreath. And he's probably about to step out of that vehicle, that car. And yeah, it's him. This, of course, live pictures from the city of Manila, from Rizal Park from Luneta Park, the Rizal Monument at the Luneta Park. He's being met by former President and now the Mayor of the City of Manila, Joseph Estrada, and other government officials. I wonder if we have any sound, a little bit of natural sound, so we can bring that up a bit, just to hear what it's like there. A while ago, McCoy Popioko was reporting that, of course, the schedule has been pushed back a few minutes. It's now 4:30 in the afternoon. Behind Mayor Estrada is Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Zhao Zhanhua. Also with them, Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez. That was mentioned a while ago that he is meeting President Xi at the Luneta Park. Let's listen in for a while. That's the national. Okay. Well, let's get McCoy Popioko on the phone. I'm sure that is the national anthem that's playing right now. McCoy?
Hi, Pia. President Xi Jinping arrives here at Luneta Park at 4:28 p.m. That's 13 minutes late. He was supposed to lay a wreath at 4:15 p.m. here at the Rizal Monument. What you're seeing now is Manila Mayor Joseph Estrada and the Finance Secretary Dominguez welcoming President Xi, and the national anthem is playing now here.
献完花圈你给我们吧。图献完了搁这儿了，正面的我怎么拍呀？要不让经纬给你拍？你跟他说。
Medyo malayo po ito natin. Nasa kana. Okay. Meron kasi dito mga official tayo nakikita. Isang malitaw yung Chinese official.
Military honors as Chinese President Xi Jinping, visiting Chinese President Xi Jinping, laid a wreath at the monument of Dr. Jose Rizal, national hero of the Republic of the Philippines. Mr. Xi here for a two-day state visit. Just a while ago, what you heard was a gun salute, which was performed after the laying of the wreath, and then the playing of the taps by a bugler. And that is, of course, military tradition every time there is a visiting head of state. To your left are live pictures from Malacanang. You can see President Duterte preparing to receive and welcome President Xi Jinping in Malacanang. We said just a while ago that from the Luneta Park, Mr. Xi is going to be is going to be brought to Malacanang for the welcome ceremonies that are going to be held there. President Duterte and the rest of his cabinet there preparing to meet President Xi Jinping of the People's Republic of China. You can see on the left of your screens that is Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea and other members of the cabinet. Just a while ago at the Luneta Park, what's going on right now. Mayor Joseph Estrada of Manila, the city of Manila, seeing President Xi Jinping off after the laying of the wreath at the monument of Dr. Jose Rizal, the Philippine national hero. Dindo Manhit, of course, political analyst, still with us. Dindo, while you were watching those pictures, the scenario unfolding, Xi Jinping there laying the wreath at the monument of Dr. Jose Rizal, your thoughts? Just a while ago, you were talking about that social weather station survey that wasn't very, well, not very welcoming and warm towards.
There's a continuing distrust. Social weather station result of September, very recent, was at 27% trust China. That means a little over 7 out of 10 Filipinos distrust China. And it's something that you can build on. It's something that both governments should build on. And successful projects that benefit the Filipino people can improve those kind of ratings. Because at the end of the day, me as a political analyst, we rely on data like this to really give our analysis. It cannot simply be commentary based on either our biases or ideology, but it's good to react to certain events based on hard quantitative facts. In this case, that's what Social Weather Station shared to us this morning.
Yeah. Kanina, Dindo, nabanggit mo rin yung the visit of President Duterte to China back in October 2016. Thank you for the correction later. And he said, and we quote, "I announced my separation from the United States, both in military but economics as well. Also, so please, you have another problem of economics in my country. I am separated from them, so I will be dependent on you for a long time." Of course, that caused quite a bit of a tidal wave.
Yes.
Quite a bit, and tidal wave, baliktad yun na. A tidal wave of reactions, because it really sounded like, oh my goodness, the Philippines is turning its back on its traditional ally, the United States, and it is para bang tatawid sa kabilang bakura. No,
that was quite surprising then. Of course, government backtracked afterwards because number one, our number one export market continues to be the United States. Our economy is built on remittances, and the value of remittances, number one, is the United States. There might be more remittances coming from other countries, but the value given, maybe the level of work and livelihood of our Filipino Americans there. The U.S. is number one. Then also, one of our growth industries is business process outsourcing. That has sustained this growth. It's not really manufacturing. It's not really.
It's the BPO industry.
It's the BPO
that hires thousands of people
Filipinos
who can speak American English.
That's what I'm saying.
The customers are American.
It really shocked people in 2016. But of course, maybe I was saying at the time, the president got
a little bit carried
away by the warm welcome that he received in Beijing.
Yeah.
But if we will just follow what he's consistently has said, he has an independent foreign policy. So I give him that leeway.
Yeah, okay.
That you can build.
But when he says independent foreign policy, is this an independent foreign policy now?
This cannot be an independent foreign policy if you choose one over the other. At the end of the day, nations have their own interest. China will have their own interest. The U.S. will have their own interest. So what's the Filipino interest? And right now, if you go backtrack a little, a different survey tells us that the most urgent national concern of the Filipino people are jobs, addressing poverty. So
prices.
Who can bring investment that can create jobs? So those are one of the challenges of this investment coming from China because of this fear that, again, there are examples in their investments in Africa that we saw Chinese workers. So these are I think what causes distrust.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that statement the President Duterte made in Beijing back in October 2016. And then rightly so, yes, like you said, medyo kumambyo ang gobyerno, ang administration, medyo inexplain, pinaliwanag kung anong ibig sabihin. And then 2 years later, you have this survey, as you mentioned a while ago, Social Weather Station, saying that there's not enough, there's so much distrust or mistrust towards China. And then now today we are watching this all unfold right before our very eyes. President Xi Jinping laying a wreath at the monument of Dr. Jose Rizal. He's on his way to Malacanang to be welcomed. Literally, the red carpet rolled out for him, as it has been rolled out for any other visiting head of state anyway.
It's reflective of the bias or the priorities of our own government, that they see China as important friend and important partner maybe in development.
Yeah.
But as I've said, what I have quoted, it's a September survey, but historically, they're within that range.
Right.
They have not really risen beyond 30% trust rating among Filipinos.
Of course, alam naman natin, no, Luneta Park is not very far from
Yes.
Malacanang. And well, the roads are clear, very, very clear.
And classes are suspended.
So
Avoid
that
rallies,
convoy,
maybe.
that convoy is that of President Xi Jinping, and they're right at the gates of Malacanang, knocking on the gates of Malacanang already, and President Duterte waiting just there. Nabanggit rin, you know, I asked you about independent foreign policy. Lately, of course, the interpretation baka hindi naman accurate, ano. Like, for example, very lately, the United States announcing that the good news, if you will, about the return of the Balanghinga bells, for example. You know, para bang the interpretation would be, aba, parang bumabait na ang Amerika sa atin dahil lumalayo na tayo sa kanila. Ganun ba? Hindi.
Not really. We have to be factual about it. I remember it was a Catholic church who started asking for that, because for them it's a church artifact. So governments after governments have worked on that. And it took a lot of efforts coming from, you'll be surprised, former U.S. ambassadors. Negotiating with some war veterans who saw this as their prized possession. So it took an effort that goes beyond our own relationship, I think, with the United States. And I don't think our relationship should be valued based on the return of a bell, because there are more to it than that from the point of view of the Filipino people.
And speaking of relationship, of course, today what we're talking about is the relationship between the Republic of the Philippines and the People's Republic of China. Today, President Xi Jinping of China a visiting head of state today. He is here for a 2-day state visit. His vehicle pulling into the gates of Malacanang Palace, where President Duterte is waiting to receive him. He's going to be given a red carpet welcome. There will be, if I'm not mistaken, a while ago at Luneta, he was given a 21-gun salute. There should be, I suppose, another one in Malacanang. Also earlier, Dinda, very interesting that the music that was playing while the wreath was being laid was Pilipinas Kong Mahal. Well, live pictures now. Let's try and listen in if there's natural sound. Let's bring that sound up. All right, I don't think we have that sound, but there, Xi Jinping met by Rodrigo Duterte. Mr. Duterte, of course, as we mentioned just a while ago, back in October 2016 in a visit in Beijing, talking about how strongly he feels about this relationship with China. Let's listen in now. We have that sound.
Your Excellency, the Honor Guard is ready for inspection.
Ceremony, pomp and tradition as Xi Jinping is welcomed to Malacanang. Just moments ago, a 21-gun salute fired for him as a visiting head of state, while the national anthems of both the People's Republic of China and the Republic of the Philippines are played. What's going to happen now, an inspection of the troops by President Xi Jinping, accompanied by Philippine President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. This is all happening, of course, live pictures from Malacanang. This is the first day of the two-day state visit of Xi Jinping to Manila. He has been here before, but this is his first state visit here. The honors that are being accorded to him are those that are always accorded to any visiting head of state. Now, after this, of course, there will be a joint statement that both Presidents Duterte and Xi will issue, but we're told that there will be no press conference and that he will not be taking any questions.
Kalupunan, tanghal, ta. Baba, ta. Ang dadala. Alis. Baba! Your Excellency, the ceremony is over.
Arrival honors for Chinese President Xi Jinping's ceremony, pomp and tradition as Mr. Xi is welcomed to Malacanang. Moments ago, a 21-gun salute for a visiting head of state, while the national anthems of both the China and the Philippines were played, and then then we had the arrival honors, inspection of troops. And now what we have happening is that there's going to be that walk to Malacanang, to the palace itself, for the bilateral meeting and the joint press statement that is going to take place in just a bit. In the meantime, we have on the line our senior correspondent, Ina Andalong, in Malacanang. Ina, what else can you tell us?
Well, Pia, as you mentioned, Chinese President Xi Jinping is here in Malacanang. The welcome ceremony and the arrival honors are still ongoing, of course, with no less than President Rodrigo Duterte himself here to welcome the Chinese leader along with members of his cabinet. You know, Pia, it's been a very busy day here in Malacanang with the Chinese president visiting this afternoon. Primarily, palace employees have been attending to matters regarding accreditation for people allowed entry in the complex today. Security has been extra tight in Malacanang, especially for our reporters covering this historic visit. You know, there are more than 100 Chinese journalists covering the events today and tomorrow. And you add to that the number of local journalists, preparations for everything need to be in place to avoid any form of disorder. Now, right now, we're seeing, or rather, let me tell you that the president is currently introducing the Chinese president to members of his cabinet. Presidential daughter and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte is also here. And earlier, President Xi was actually welcomed by kids upon entering the palace complex. The kids carrying with them small flags of the Philippines and China, which they were waving again once the Chinese president entered. Now, after this welcome ceremony, Pia, although you've mentioned this earlier, what will follow is the signing of a guest book, of the Malacanang guest book, an expanded bilateral meeting. There will be signing of agreements, and then the two leaders from there will face reporters to deliver statements. And also, as you've mentioned, we've been advised that there will be no questions, no Q&A with both leaders, who will also have a restricted meeting before they head to the state banquet at the Rizal Hall in Malacanang. Yeah.
Ina, we're showing live pictures right now, as you were explaining just a while ago, as you mentioned, Sara Duterte, cabinet members of the president, introduced by President Duterte to President Xi. And then you had that long line of Chinese officials. Was that Prime Minister Li Keqiang?
No, Pia, from where we are, we're quite far. I really don't want to say names of the Chinese officials here. But yes, definitely the Chinese president is here with several Chinese officials right now. They're walking towards or heading the main Malacanang building. Again, for the signing of the guest book is the next activity.
Okay. Ina, do we have any more details about the 10 agreements that they're going to that are going to be signed and that both presidents will be witnessing and watching?
It actually turns out, Pia, that it won't just be 10 agreements. It was the budget secretary who initially said that there will be 10 agreements to be signed this afternoon. However, we just got word that close to 30 agreements will be signed. Some are saying that it's about 28, but then they're also finalizing a last agreement. It could be 29, and of course, what many are also waiting for if the agreement will include one on the joint exploration between the Philippines and China. But so far, no official is confirming yet if this will be among the agreements that will be signed later.
Wow, that's a big piece of news, huh? Close to 30 agreements. And, well, the speculation about whether there is going to be that joint oil exploration agreement that's going to be signed, that's a little bit of a surprise, Ina, like you were saying.
Yeah, it's definitely. It's basically 3 times what we were earlier told. And also, speaking of that much anticipated, or what people are waiting for, if indeed a joint exploration agreement will be signed. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Locsin was actually chatting with some reporters earlier. And following reports, now there have been reports quoting some senators who are implying that the agreement may have been drafted by the Chinese or by China. Secretary Locsin was reiterating or stressing earlier to reporters that whatever deal will be signed, if there is going to be one later, it passed through his desk. It's something that went through his office. So again, that's to dispute what some senators are saying, that it was China that drafted what could be an oil exploration deal that could be signed later.
Ina, they're not taking any questions later at the when they appear before the press?
That's right. We were advised not just today, about 2 days ago, that there will be no question and answer portion. The two presidents will simply be delivering their own statements, and from there, reporters will be escorted out of the venue. The only ones who will be allowed to stay after that are those who will be covering the state banquet, where both leaders will also be delivering their respective toasts.
All right. They're very near the what is this? The Rizal Hall. I'm not sure, no, Ina. And okay. They're going to watch a little bit of cultural presentation, the Tinikling.
Well,
and other Filipino dances. Yes.
Unfortunately, Pia, from where I am, we're actually barred near that area now. So whatever you're seeing, you're actually getting a better view of what's happening now.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if we can get some natural sound here so that we can hear what's going on. a succession of mini tableaus featuring Philippine culture to welcome Chinese President Xi Jinping to Malacanang. Among them, various Philippine dances from tinikling to singkil. Also an added feature, a rondalia was there, thrown in for good measure, the kulintang, an instrument that is played in Mindanao. Just a while ago, I mentioned, I had asked Ina Andalong if that was Prime Minister Li Keqiang. If we're not mistaken now, we're going to make a correction. We think that is the Foreign Minister of China, Wang Yi, but we'll get a confirmation in just a bit. So now President Duterte and President Xi entering Malacanang. Dindo?
Yep. Of course, we are expecting their statement, and that's me what I'm looking forward to in terms of as two head of states trying to build stronger relationship. What will they talk about? Is it those concrete agreements?
Yeah.
My fear with those agreements are, we had those agreements in 2016 also. So we have to go beyond what will be stated as agreements and look at how will it be executed, what are the next steps.
Yeah.
Because we are now on the 2.5 year of our president, and he has 3.5 years given our one-term presidency. They need to make some of these projects happen to really find substance to this new strong relationship that President Duterte is trying to build with President Xi.
Yeah, who is about to sign the guest book in Malacanang. Dindo, a while ago, Ina Andalong, our senior correspondent covering Malacanang, mentioned that hindi lang pala 10 ang agreement na pipirmahan, but close to 30.
Yes. For me, as I've said, we had nearly 20 in 2016, and not one have been implemented. So as we look at agreements, agreements are popularly known as memorandum of agreement, memorandum of understanding. So as I've said, it's time to have something concrete. Will they be building highways, infrastructure based on this official development assistance? Will they encourage more exports of Filipino products to China? Because our trade relationship with them is on a deficit. China exports more than what we sell to them, so it's not really balanced. So these are things that we need to raise questions. We might see a nice welcome by our president, but what the Filipino people is saying is that what are we getting with the stronger relationship? And of course, the reality that China and the Filipino people don't share what we call basic values in terms of democracy. We live in a highly democratic country where freedom of speech, freedom of association are clearly defined, but we deal with a country that did well in economically, but politically continues to be considered communist and authoritarian. That goes to the opposite side of our democratic values. So these are things that you have to consider as we see and watch this historic state visit of President Xi.
This historic state visit that's moved into the room where the cabinet meeting is usually held. This is going to be the expanded bilateral meeting that had been announced earlier. I doubt very much if we're going to be able to hear anything.
Yes.
I think there's going to be a little bit of a photo op, and then the cameras are going to be removed from that room. But what we have here is Xi Jinping and Chinese government officials facing President Duterte in his cabinet secretaries in this what is going to be an expanded bilateral meeting. And then there is going to be, like Ina Andalong was reporting a while ago, there is going to be that joint press statement also. Let's listen in. Let's see what we can hear.
For the Philippines, I warmly welcome you, President Xi, and your delegation. For the Philippines, this is more than a reciprocal visit. It is a historic occasion, the very first state visit to be made by Chinese president in 13 years. Today, therefore, is a landmark moment shared history. We have turned a new page, and we are ready to write a new chapter of openness and cooperation. I look forward to fruitful discussions today as we review the progress we have made and chart the course towards a further enhanced partnership, all in the spirit of friendship, mutual understanding, and respect for sovereign equality. At this point, may I ask President Xi to deliver his opening statement.
尊敬的杜特尔特总统啊，很高兴能够如约访问美丽的菲律宾。感谢你盛情的邀请和热情友好的接待。今天沿途走来看到这个菲律宾热情欢迎的群众、学生我们都是深受感动。现在北半球已经进入了冬季。
As we speak, it is already winter in the northern part of the globe. But here we are still enjoying refreshing breeze and exceptional scenes. And this is exactly what China-Philippines relationship is like today. I'm satisfied to see the growth in our relations, and indeed I have been looking forward to this trip long time ago. Mr. President, I agree with what you have said in your opening remarks, that my visit will be a milestone in the history of exchange between our two countries. And the two of us are working together to open a new chapter in the bilateral relations. Mr. President, we have met 6 times over the past 2 years since you took office. We had in-depth exchange of views on China-Philippine relationship and issues of common interest, cemented our friendship and common understanding. We are each other's good friends. Thanks to our joint efforts, we have made productive results in cooperation in all areas, bringing benefits to our two peoples and making contribution to peace and stability of the region. China and the Philippines are close neighbors with a 1,000-year history of exchanges. Good neighborliness, friendship, and women cooperation is our only correct choice. I'm ready to work with you to chart the course for the future development of our relations from a strategic perspective, deepen friendship and cooperation, so that our two countries will always be good neighbors, good friends, and good partners that enjoy common development and prosperity. Thank you. That's my opening remarks.
Thank you, President Xi. And now, may I ask the media to please leave the room.
And that is our cue. We're going to take a very short break, but we will be right back. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines special coverage of the state visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping. Welcome back. This is a special coverage of CNN Philippines and the state visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping. President Duterte encouraged warmer ties with China after deciding to rely less on longtime ally, the United States. This led to Beijing becoming Manila's biggest trading partner. AC Nichols tells us more.
President Rodrigo Duterte promised change. And when it comes to foreign policy, he delivered. His administration has marked a new dawn in Philippine-China relations. Shortly after he took office in 2016, President Duterte made it clear he wanted to build a stronger alliance with the Asian power and rely less on longtime ally, the United States.
I announced my separation from the United States, both the military but economics also. So please, you have another problem of economics in my country. I am separated from them, so I will be dependent on you for all time.
Since then, there have been warmer ties between Manila and Beijing, despite their conflicting maritime claims in the West Philippine Sea. Beijing has committed billions of dollars in loans and grants for infrastructure projects in the country. The country is the Philippines' fifth largest source of foreign direct investments from January to August this year, according to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. China is also funding 34 projects under the government's Build, Build, Build program.
Much of such projects are already in the pipeline and are expected to roll out starting from next year.
But it's the president's continued failure to raise an arbitral ruling upholding the country's rights in the West Philippine Sea that makes bilateral relations with China controversial. Despite criticism for what detractors call his defeatist attitude, Mr. Duterte insists there is no point provoking a war that the Philippines cannot win.
China is there. That's a reality. And America and everybody should realize that they are there. So if you just keep on creating friction, little friction, one day a bad miscalculation could turn things Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Now the president is set to welcome Chinese President Xi Jinping to the country for a historic two-day visit, a first in 13 years. If these past 2 years are any indication, it looks like efforts to boost ties with China are not slowing down anytime soon. AC Nichols, CNN Philippines.
The budget secretary is confident that the country will not fall into the so-called China debt trap. Benjamin Diokno said this after the United States warned that countries with so-called tied loans from China may end up having a debt they cannot afford to pay. Diokno explains government is careful and has reviewed projects with China.
Hindi tayo manghihiram kung ang return on investment, yung babalik sa atin, yung benefit, social benefit, ay mas mababa sa 10%. No? 10%. Kasi kung makakahiram ka naman ng 3%, mangungutang ka ng 3%, tapos ang balik sa'yo ay 10%. No-brainer yun. Talagang pwede naman, di ba? So yung mga ibang bansa kasi, hindi na natin kailangan pangalanan kung sino yun, nanghihiram sila na hindi nagbibigay ng economic return na mas mataas, no, doon sa panghihiram nila.
Diokno yesterday said the country is expected to sign at least 10 infrastructure deals during the Chinese president's visit. As of now, he said 34 out of 75 projects under the Build, Build, Build program have been identified for financing by the Chinese government. Of course, moments ago, Ina Dulong telling us that it's not going to be just 10 agreements that are going to be signed, but close to 30, and speculation still up in the air about what is going to happen. Is there going to be a joint oil exploration agreement that's going to be signed this afternoon? Moments ago, of course, what we saw was President Xi Jinping being welcomed to Malacanang with a 21-gun salute that is given to any other visiting head of state. While the national anthems of both the People's Republic of China and the Republic of the Philippines were played, there were rival honors, of course, the inspection of the troops by President Xi, and then the Chinese president meeting the Philippine government officials led by the executive secretary, the foreign secretary, among them also the president's daughter, Sara Duterte Carpio, who is mayor of Davao City, and the other cabinet members. And of course, President Duterte meeting the delegation that arrived with President Xi Jinping. And one of them, earlier, we were wondering if that was Li Keqiang. It is not. We think it is the foreign minister of China. Ina Andolong, of course, also telling us that not just 10 but 30 agreements that are going to be signed this afternoon or very late this afternoon. Before entering the palace, President Xi was treated to a succession of mini tableaus featuring Philippine culture, various Philippine dances from tinikling to singkil, an added bonus, of course, a rondalia, and also the kulintang, a musical instrument that is played in Mindanao. Also, of course, we saw earlier the Philippine ambassador to China, Chito Santa Romana, and the Chinese ambassador to the Philippines, Zhao Zhanhua, there also in Malacanang. Opening statements made just moments ago by President Duterte and President Xi, both talking about how they hope that the future is going to be bright for both countries. President Xi saying China and the Philippines are good friends and good neighbors. Well, still here in the studio with us, our guest, political analyst, Dindo Manhit. So far, Dindo, your thoughts about what we've seen so far, what we've heard, those initial words that came from President Duterte and President Xi?
Of course, it speaks of friendship. It speaks of making that relationship stronger between two nations. What I'm really looking forward to is this idea of the possibility of 28 to 30 agreements that relationship can build on, because all these things of talk of this very nice welcome to the visit of President Xi, at the end of the day, will not be felt by the Filipino public if there are no concrete things that can come out of it. And again, just like any nation, any people of a nation has its own biases or interests. So what will we get out of this, considering we try to pivot further from our traditional friends and allies? So looking forward to that agreement. But as I've said, key to everything is that of the people-to-people relationship. The distrust number that I was quoting with regards to the social weather station, it goes beyond policies, it goes beyond programs of government. It's really how a certain group of people view a certain nation. And that's something that you have to build on, because second to the United States is a country like Japan, another neighbor. They're the second trusted nation of the Philippines after the United States.
Yeah.
So it shows that there is that strong bond between those countries, that we see trustworthiness, we see stronger relationship. Unlike this one, these are main statements of government, but it's something that you can build on.
Yeah. Well, one of those, one bond would be trade, hindi ba?
Yes.
Pero when you use the word trade, you presume a certain balance.
Yes.
So we both benefit greatly from this relationship. Is that the present situation right now?
Every time I hear we have strong trade relationship, we have to realize that they're not even one of our top export markets. We are their we
are our top import. We are an import.
Top import. They're on top with regards to importations coming from China.
Yeah. Well, everything around the world is
yes, because
almost everything is made in China anyway.
They became known as the world's factory, where things are built and exported to different countries. So that's something that we need to build on. As I've said, at the end of the day, exports are important on the part of the Philippines, because exports, actually, when you step backward, it's about job creation, jobs being created, taxes being paid from the Philippines. But in this case, the United States continue to be our top export market.
Yeah.
So these are the biases that we have to look at.
Yeah. Well,
then I see some statements. I think that even President Xi mentioned this long history of being together. What we have had were people traveling to. Chinese were migrants. So that's a relationship, not really strong, close relationship between two nations. So we need to build on that if they want this to be sustained beyond this government.
If we were going to have in the end a very balanced trade relationship, if hindi lang tayo tiga-import ng produkto ng China at makaka-export din tayo sa kanila, kumbaga balanse, no? Would that balance things out when it comes to what has happened in the West Philippines Sea and the South China Sea?
That is totally a different issue. No, I will always
we can compartmentalize.
Yes, because at the end of the day, Me personally, as an academic who has studied some of this relationship, I look at the economic side as totally different from the territorial side. No? On the economic side, even as far back as 2012, I've always argued that we can separate territorial dispute from economic relationships and partnerships. That's why we should continue to encourage more investments, more partnership, if it's developmental and also infrastructure driven. That's very important. But the moment you cross the line of territorial, you speak of the sovereignty of our own country, our own people. That's why I use the phrase territorial integrity, our maritime security. That's the greatest threat in terms of external security on our part. When our territory, as defined by international rules, international laws, and even more than defined, has been disputed, has been argued internationally, and still
has been upheld in an arbitral tribunal.
In 2016. It tells us that we need to, there's no room for compromise on this issue.
Yeah, but we have a government that is not very willing to push that.
No, we demand that
at the
if
moment.
you are really friends, respect us as we respect you. We are not an aggressor here. We are, I'll use the example of what are we signing this afternoon? Agreements. Agreements based on what? Based on rules. So how come when it goes into territory, there was an international agreement that we subscribe to, that there are special economic zones or special EEZs that defines certain territory of a nation. So these exclusive economic zones are what has been settled by the 2012 arbitral award. So it makes you think that on one side, you want us to have agreements that will be signed today, but on the other side, as if rules don't matter.
As if rules don't matter, and
might matters. Coercion matters. That means we are a big nation. We can just take control of whatever territory that we want, or build those islands. So, but I'm just saying, if there will be a relationship among friends, among equals, even for the Filipino people who are listening or watching with us today, you have to consider that. Can you imagine having friends where somebody's dictating according to their rules?
Okay.
That's what we see in the West Philippine Sea.
Well, CNN has had several reports na yung mga correspondents nila would fly with U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force aircraft over these islands, and they would always be challenged on air. And at one point, a CNN reporter on one of those flights they were able to monitor a Philippine Air Force aircraft being challenged by the Chinese Navy in one of those.
That's a nice point you raised, Pia. No? A lot of Filipinos don't realize when they hear of this freedom of navigation, freedom of air or overflights. Basically, what this country, not only the United States, as far back as I think even United Kingdom has sent ships, Australia, Japan, what they're actually doing is helping us with our arbitral award, because they're basically saying we are friends of the Philippines, we're allies of the Philippines, and we're passing through these lanes because we're respecting the arbitral award. People seem to have forgotten that's the reason of freedom of navigation. That there are international rules, and within this international rule, we respect the result of 2016. That's why we're doing this. But when somebody tells you you cannot fly over here, we will try to send our ships. We're basically saying we're in control. Of control of what? Of the seas? Or control of what I call a lake? A Chinese lake?
A lake. The sea has become a lake now.
Yeah, because, you know, when they were constructing all these artificial islands, what I was imagining strategically is,
what were they building?
I just joke about it, but as if you're building a second Great Wall of China. As you build those islands, in between it, the South China Sea or the West Philippine Sea.
Parang it becomes your territory.
It becomes your territory, but more, it becomes suddenly a lake where resources, fishes, you can extract. But again, we live in a rule-based order. We live on an international system of rules that govern how nations should relate with one another.
Yeah.
That's why we are welcoming President Xi at this time.
Oh,
As
yeah.
a
Well,
head of
interesting.
state.
We're welcoming President Xi, but we have this arbitral tribunal ruling. But like you said, you look at this as like the building of a second Great Wall of China, resources that are being taken from these waters for their benefit, right?
That's a good question that as a Filipino person, as a Filipino individual, as a citizen, I'm asking. And I think that's the reason why that survey of social weather station resonate from all of us. 27% of Filipinos trust them. 73% fears or has this mistrust towards China.
That is very interesting in the sense that you have Rodrigo Duterte, who is very popular as a president, who has a battalion, an army of supporters who love him and who believe him and who will take his every word, right? But he says that he believes in China. China is a good friend and a good neighbor. And yet you have that majority not trusting China.
Remember,
how are we going to understand?
Remember, this is the same survey that tells us that these people, these respondents, when they are asked, the president is doing a good job? Yes, 75%. Do we trust the president? Yes, ma'am, sir. Are we in the right direction? Yes, also 70 to 75. That's within the range. Suddenly, it jumps to 84%. Oh, we don't like what China is doing. Oh, 73% says we distrust China. So suddenly, you know that in this issue, we might love you as our president. We follow your direction, sir. But this one, we have this big question mark since July 12, 2016, because this is not new. It's been there, and it just goes up and down within the range of 74, 75 to 83, 84. So that's within the range of the Philippines with regards to their issue with South China Sea. Because for the Filipino people, they look at that as West Philippine Sea.
Yeah.
It's a body of water that has been part of our historical fishing grounds. I mean, among fishermen, fisher folks. I remember spending time in northern Palawan. You know, I was crossing from one island to another. Suddenly, I was asking those handling the boat, where are we now? I was hoping, I thought they'll answer Coron or El Nido. No, sir, we're in West Philippine Sea. And I felt proud of this ordinary Filipino folk saying that we're in West Philippine Sea.
Yeah.
You are not crossing, but we are part. And they're proud of that. These are the Filipino people saying that this is ours. And hopefully a friend respects what is ours.
This is ours, and this is where we get the food we need to feed our fellow Filipinos.
Especially these fisher folks from those fishing communities.
Right, Zambales.
I used to tell people cannot visualize where Scarborough Shoal is. It's quite far. But I always remember what is it part of? Masinloc, of the province of Zambales. And I will always say, we're now in Manila, where I used to teach in the university. I said, maybe 3 hours by car to the province of Zambales or the town of Masinloc.
Yeah.
For people to visualize, how can that be China?
But how
can be a shoal, a group of rocks within the town of Masinloc, be part of China? That's why it's called historical maps, which it's called Bajo de Masinloc, as far back as the Spanish colonial era.
In that Murillo Velarde map.
Velarde map. So you look at facts. You look at data that has been around. You just don't say, we claim it. It's been historical. But in our case, we have different view on in terms of its historical argument.
But they're very interesting, very ironic also what you're saying. Also, you have the West Philippine Sea, or you feel very proud when ordinary fisher folks say this is the West Philippine Sea, this is where we are. But like you said a while ago, you call this in a little bit of, I suppose there's a little bit, may halong humor na dito, no? The second Great Wall of China is what is actually being built by Beijing when they set up all these military installations in all these islands.
For Filipinos to understand it, imagine if China takes full control. Every time a ship passes through that. Trade. I mean, our trade, our lives are based on the movements of ships. Suddenly, they need to ask permission from China.
Yeah.
us, as we travel, maybe this is airspace, we move around.
Yeah.
You need to ask permission from China. The moment when we lose that, it affects not only ours, our movements, our mobility, but also
the rest of the world.
That's why the rest of the world sided with us. That's why for me, it's hard that when people seem to equate it, say, oh, it's U.S.-China war. No, this is a big issue of the world because this is about a rule-based order in an important sea lane and airspace.
About what we like to see as our territory.
As our territory.
Yeah. But you know, there is also this argument na, alam nyo, pag kunyari meron kang property, hindi mo ginagamit, pinapabayaan mo, either dahil wala kang pera, wala kang resources, wala kang oras, wala kang panahon, whatever, kung ano yung dahilan. No? Kumbaga, parang nakatiwangwang lang siya dyan. Ano? At merong pumasok doon, yung taong yan ang may karapatan na doon sa property na yan dahil pinabayaan mo siya. Parang gano'n ang
Pero ang tanong doon, hindi tayo nagpabaya. That's why pumunta tayo sa korte. That's why
when we say nagpabaya, dahil hindi natin ma-occupy.
Next question is, then we ask this question of, because we have focused too much on internal security instead of building external security capabilities. Then we also go into this issue that's why we have built alliances and even agreements. Remember the visiting forces agreement, not only with the
US, but with
other
well,
countries.
No? Yeah.
That's why we continue to work with Japan in terms of our coastal watch. So there are steps that were taken even before this arbitral award was given. So one thing that we have to learn is that, number one, we should stop calling this disputed territory because it's not disputed anymore.
Because there is a ruling.
We might not be in possession, but since July 12, 2016, we could have used that ruling to harness our partners, our allies, that can help us, can protect us. Imagine the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement 2014, if I remember it right, April. We could have used that as a temporary shield to help us protect our territories because we were trying to build our own external capabilities.
Pero ang daming kumontra doon eh. Every step of the way because di ba ang tanong doon na yung EDCA na yan, papasok na naman ang mga American military bases, di ba?
But that's me. I am consistent. When I was a young student activist, I was against the U.S. bases. But in this case, it's rotational forces.
Right.
And second, who is our external threat right now? So these are questions that we could have moved forward to with the right answers, the right directions. If we just build on what the previous government did, not perfect, not enough time, 6-year term is not enough, and build from it, and also and prepared our country to address an external threat.
But that is not what President Duterte wants.
Yes.
All right. Dino, we'll continue this very, very interesting discussion in just a bit. We're going to have to pause first for a break. Please stay tuned to CNN Philippines. Welcome back. This is a special coverage of CNN Philippines and the state visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping. They are at the moment in Malacanang. Just moments ago, President Duterte and President Xi issuing or reading statements that were to mark the beginning of that expanded bilateral meeting. President Xi, of course, welcomed to Malacanang with all the ceremony, pomp, and tradition that is accorded any visiting head of state. Among them, of course, among the honors, a 21-gun salute, arrival honors for any visiting head of state, while the national anthems of both the People's Republic of China and the Republic of the Philippines were played. The President Xi meeting officials of the Duterte administration and President Duterte meeting members of the delegation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. Moments ago, also, our Ina Andalong telling us that it's not going to be just 10 agreements that are going to be signed today in this afternoon in Malacanang Palace, but close to 30 of them, and not very clear yet what exactly these agreements are and what they pertain to, although we were told earlier that the 10 agreements that were first mentioned would be those referring to infrastructure projects under the Build program. But like Ina Andolong was saying, there's going to be close to 30. Some speculation there also about whether this will include, among others, the joint oil exploration in the South China Sea and West Philippine Sea. Also, President Xi treated to a succession of mini tableaus of featuring Philippine culture, Philippine dances, from the tinikling to singkil, and an added bonus, of course, a rondalla. We did also mention that Chinese Ambassador Zhao Zhanhua, Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines Zhao Zhanhua, and Philippine Ambassador to China Chito Santa Romana are there in Malacanang with President Duterte and President Xi. Both presidents making opening statements talking about the friendship, that both China and the Philippines are good friends and good neighbors. After this mini cultural presentation, just as they entered the Malacanang Palace, President Xi, of course, signing the guest book as any visiting head of state would, and that is when they went into that expanded bilateral meeting and where those initial opening statements were made. We're going to be replaying them for you in just a bit. That was about 5 minutes worth of statements from both President Duterte and President Xi. This is the first day of the two-day state visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping.
The Philippine government and the people of the Philippines, I warmly welcome you, President Xi, and your delegation. For the Philippines, this is more than a reciprocal visit. It is a historic occasion, the very first state visit to be made by Chinese president in 13 years. Today, therefore, is a landmark moment in our shared history. We have turned a new page and we are ready to write a new chapter of openness and cooperation. I look forward to fruitful discussions today as we review the progress we have made and chart the course towards a further enhanced partnership, all in the spirit of friendship mutual understanding and respect for sovereign equality.
President Rodrigo Duterte, it is my great pleasure, as scheduled, to visit your beautiful country. I thank you for your gracious invitation and warm hospitality. So along the route here, I have seen the welcoming crowd, including the local people and young students, and we have been deeply moved. Well, as we speak, it is already winter in the northern part of the globe, but here we are still enjoying refreshing breeze and exceptional scenes. And this is exactly what China-Philippines relationship is like today. I'm satisfied to see the growth in our relations, and indeed I have been looking forward to this trip long time ago. Mr. President, I agree with what you have said in your opening remarks, that my visit will be a milestone in the history of exchange between our two countries. And the two of us are working together to open a new chapter in the bilateral relations. Mr. President, we have met 6 times over the past 2 years since you took office. We had in-depth exchange of views on China-Philippine relationship and issues of common interest, cemented our friendship and common understanding. We are each other's good friends. Thanks to our joint efforts, we have made productive results in cooperation in all areas, bringing benefits to our two peoples and making contribution to peace and stability of the region. China and the Philippines are close neighbors with 1,000 years of history of exchanges. Good neighborliness, friendship, and women cooperation is our only correct choice. I'm ready to work with you to chart the course for the future development of our relations from a strategic perspective, deepen friendship and cooperation, so that our two countries will always be good neighbors, good friends, and good partners that enjoy common development and prosperity.
Opening statements made by President Duterte and President Xi just at the commencement of that expanded bilateral meeting. Moments from now, we're going to expect the signing of some 30 agreements, as reported by our Ina Andalong, and we're going to hear more from both presidents. Tomorrow, President Xi is going to be meeting with Senate President Tito Sotto and House Speaker Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. We're going to wrap up our coverage now, but before that, a summary from you, Dindo Manhil.
Of course, this is a historic visit. Our government would like to build a stronger relationship with China, and hopefully these agreements that will be signed will become concrete initiatives to improve our trade, our investments, our own need for support for our infrastructure program. So you remain to be hopeful. But of course, we should not forget our current challenges also, that within the area of territorial integrity, our own maritime rights, our government previously have fought for addressing this dispute with regards to territory. And we have won 2 years ago, and our people continue to distrust China because of issues like this. And as we set it aside, it builds more credibility that one day we'll just be surprised that there are islands closer and getting closer. Like imagine a Scarborough Shoal, which is part of Masinloc, Zambales, island being built there. And that's why I said earlier, there's this second Great Wall of China. And suddenly they have expanded their territory and we did not do anything about it, considering in an international rules order, the Filipino people stood up, raised this issue, and won that case. So we should not forget that. But of course, we would always be hopeful that we can build better relationship with a neighbor, a growing power, growing economy that can help improve the lives of the Filipino people if there are concrete projects that will happen.
Dinda Manhit, political analyst, thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. This has been a CNN Philippines special presentation, the state visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping. Newsnight is up next. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Thank you for joining us. This is Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Tonight on the program, President Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping sign a number of agreements in Malacanang. Two senators are pushing for the release of a draft joint oil and gas exploration deal with China. And find out why several Facebook users changed their profile pictures to Winnie the Pooh. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Manila before noon today. Philippine Ambassador to China, Chito Santaromana, Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines, Zhao Zhanhua, Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez, Armed Forces Chief General Carlito Galvez, and NAIA General Manager Ed Monreal welcomed Mr. Xi. In an arrival statement, the Chinese leader says he looks forward to meeting with President Duterte for, quote, an in-depth exchange of views on how to further strengthen China-Philippine relations and on regional and international issues of mutual interest. President Xi also mentioned his upcoming meeting with Senate President Tito Soto and House Speaker Gloria Arroyo. He says he's convinced that his visit would strengthen bilateral ties toward common development. China's leader Xi Jinping has a tight schedule at the start of his two-day state visit here in the country. President Xi laid a wreath at the Rizal Monument in Luneta Park in Manila before proceeding to Malacanang for welcoming ceremonies. There he was joined by Manila Mayor Joseph Estrada. From Rizal Park, he proceeded to Malacanang. At the palace, President Duterte, together with cabinet members and President and his daughter, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, warmly received President Xi. The Chinese leader also witnessed some cultural presentations before signing the guest book and having a bilateral meeting with President Duterte. After the meeting, there will be a signing and exchange of some 30 agreements. The two leaders will deliver a joint press statement before attending a state banquet. Tomorrow, President Xi will see Senate President Tito Soto and House Speaker Gloria Arroyo before proceeding to a meeting with leaders of the Chinese Filipino community. Mr. Xi returns to Beijing after that. The National Capital Region Police Office says that they have about 5,000 troops on duty today. Let's go to Malacanang for President Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping's joint statement.
将签署的双边协议涉及到了菲律宾和中国在各个领域方面的合作，这包括贸易、投资、银行、金融、基础设施、农业、教育、文化、人文交流等等。
At this point, may we call on Philippine Secretary of Foreign Affairs Teodoro L. Locsin Jr. and Vice Chairman He Lifeng of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference and Chairman of the National Development and Reform Commission for the exchange of Memorandum of Understanding between the Government of the Philippines and the Government of the People's Republic of China on cooperation on the Belt and Road Initiative.
有请菲律宾外交部部长洛辛先生和中国政协副主席、发改委主任何立峰先生分别代表菲律宾共和国政府和中华人民共和国政府来就有关“一带一路”倡议交换备忘录。
May we call on Philippine Secretary of Foreign Affairs Teodoro Locsin Jr. again, and China's State Councilor and Minister of Foreign Affairs Wang Yi for the exchange of Memorandum of Understanding on cooperation on oil and gas development between the Philippines and China, and Memorandum of Understanding between the Foreign Service Institute of the Republic of the Philippines and the China Foreign Affairs University of the People's Republic of China.
在此有请菲律宾外交部长洛辛先生和中国国务委员外交部长王毅先生一起来交换有关菲律宾和中国石油天然气合作开发项目的谅解备忘录，以及有关菲律宾外交服务学院与中华人民共和国外交学院有关开展合作的备忘录。
Thank you.
谢谢。
Thank you. Now may we call on Chairman Virgilio Almari of the Philippines National Commission on Culture and the Arts and China's State Councilor and Minister of Foreign Affairs Wang Yi for the exchange of executive program of the cultural agreement between the government of the Philippines, government of the Republic of the Philippines, and the People's Republic of China for 2019 to 2023.
有请菲律宾国家文化艺术委员会主席Virgilio Almario 先生，中国国务委员、外交部部长王毅先生，就有关2019年到2023年菲律宾共和国与中华人民共和国文化协议交换计划。
Thank you.
谢谢。
Now may we call on Philippine Secretary of Education Leonor Briones and China's State Councilor and Minister of Foreign Affairs Wang Yi for the exchange of Memorandum of Understanding on Basic Education Cooperation between the Department of Education of the Republic of the Philippines and the Ministry of Education of the People's Republic of China.
有请菲律宾教育部长 Leonardo Briones 先生和中国国务委员、外交部部长王毅先生，就有关菲律宾教育部同中华人民共和国教育部关于基础教育备忘录交换仪式。
Thank you very much.
非常感谢。
Now may we call on Philippine Acting Secretary of Information and Communications Technology Eliseo M. Rio Jr. and China's State Councilor and Minister of Foreign Affairs Wang Yi for the exchange of Memorandum of Understanding between the Department of Information and Communications Technology of the Republic of the Philippines and the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology of the People's Republic of China.
有请菲律宾信息和通讯技术部的代理部长Eliseo Royal 先生同中国国务委员、外交部部长王毅先生就有关菲律宾信息和通讯技术部和中华人民共和国信息技术产业部的合作备忘录交换文件。
Thank you very much. Now may we call on Chairman Orlando Ravanera of the Philippines Cooperative Development Authority and China's State Councilor and Minister of Foreign Affairs Wang Yi for the exchange of Memorandum of Understanding between the Cooperative Development Authority of the Republic of the Philippines and the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs of the People's Republic of China on strengthening the building of agricultural cooperatives.
现在有请菲律宾农村合作发展部部长和中国国务委员、外交部部长王毅先生就有关加强农村合作社建设备忘录交换文件。
Thank you very much.
谢谢。
Now may we call on Philippine Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Empernia of the National Economic and Development Authority and China's Minister Zhong Shan of the Ministry of Commerce for the exchange of infrastructure cooperation program between the government of the Republic of the Philippines and the government of the People's Republic of China.
有请菲律宾社会经济规划部部长 Ernesto Pena 先生与中国商务部部长钟山先生就有关基础设施合作计划交换文件。
Thank you.
谢谢。
Now we call on Philippine Secretary of Trade and Industry Ramon M. Lopez and China's Minister of Commerce Zhong Shan for the exchange of program for cooperation on industrial parks development between the Republic of the Philippines and the People's Republic of China.
有请菲律宾贸工部部长洛皮斯先生和中国商务部长钟山先生就有关菲律宾同中国工业园区开发计划的合作交换文件。
Thank you very much. At this point, we call on Philippine Secretary of Finance Carlos G. Dominguez and China's Minister of Commerce Zhong Shan for the exchange of handover certificate of emergency humanitarian cash assistance between the government of the Philippines and the government of the People's Republic of China.
有请菲律宾财政部长多米盖斯先生、中国商务部部长钟山先生就有关菲律宾和中国关于紧急人道现汇援助交换文件。
Thank you. We call on the Philippine Secretary of Finance Carlos Dominguez to stay and China's Minister of Commerce Zhong Shan also to stay for the exchange of Memorandum of Understanding on jointly promoting the cooperation in key infrastructure projects in Davao region between the Department of Finance of the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Ministry of Commerce of the Government of the People's Republic of China, and handover of certificate of humanitarian cash assistance between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of the People's Republic of China.
再次有请菲律宾财政部长多米盖斯先生和中国商务部部长钟先生就有关菲律宾和中国在达沃市关键基础设施合作备忘录交换文件，同时呢，就有关菲律宾和中国有关紧急人道现汇援助交换文件。
Thank you.
谢谢。
Now may we call on Philippine Secretary of Public Works and Highways Mark Villar and China's Minister of Commerce Zhong Shan for the exchange of implementation agreement of the feasibility study for Davao City Expressway project and the implementation agreement of the feasibility study for Panay, Guimaras, Negros Island Bridges project.
有请菲律宾公共事业及高速公路部 Mark Villar 先生和中国商务部部长钟山先生就有关达沃市快行道可行性研究执行协议交换文件，以及关于班乃岛马拉维内格罗斯大桥项目开展可持续研究项目的协议交换文件。
Thank you. Now we call on Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Deputy Governor for Financial Supervision Sector Chuchi Funasier, and Ambassador Zhao Jianhua for the exchange of Memorandum of Understanding on renminbi clearing arrangement.
现在有请菲律宾中央银行副行长Chuchi Funasier 先生和中国驻菲律宾大使赵建华先生就有关人民币清算安排备忘录交换文件。
Thank you very much. Now we call on Agricultural Secretary Emmanuel Piñol and Ambassador Zhao Jinhua to exchange the protocol of phytosanitary requirements for export of fresh young coconuts from the Philippines to China between the Department of Agriculture of the Republic of the Philippines and the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China, and the protocol of sanitary and phytosanitary requirements for export of frozen fruits from the Philippines to China between the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Health of the Republic of the Philippines and the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China.
有请菲律宾农业部长 Emmanuel Piñol 先生和赵建华大使就有关动植物检疫议定书的要求，关于涉及到了菲律宾对华椰子出口的议定书交换文件。同时呢，菲律宾农业部和卫生部有关冷冻水果对华出口卫生检疫要求交换文件。这是中方是代表海关总署。
Thank you. May we now call on Philippine Secretary of Finance Carlos G. Dominguez and Chairman Wang Xiaotao of the China International Development Cooperation Agency for the exchange of agreement on economic and technical cooperation between the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and the Government of the People's Republic of China, and the Memorandum of Understanding on supporting feasibility study of major projects between the Department of Finance of the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and China International Development Cooperation Agency of the Government of the People's Republic of China.
再有请菲律宾财政部长多米盖斯先生和中国国际开发合作署领导王小桃 就有关经济技术合作协议交换文件，同时交换的还有包括有关的重大项目可行研究，中国向菲律宾提供支持的备忘录交换文件。
Thank you. Now may we call on Philippine Customs Commissioner Ray Leonardo Guerrero and Chairman Wang Xiaotao of the China International Development Cooperation Agency for the exchange of letters on project of container inspection equipment.
现在有请菲律宾海关总署署长 Ray Leonardo Guerrero 先生和王小涛领导就有关集装箱检查设备项目检测交换意向书。
Thank you. May we now call on Philippine Secretary of Public Works and Highways Mark A. Villar and Chairman Wang Xiaotao of the China International Development Cooperation Agency for the exchange of letters on project of Davao River Bridge Project, Bukana.
现在有请菲律宾公共事务和高速公路的署长这 Mark Villar 先生同中国国际合作开发署的署长王小涛先生就有关达沃大桥项目交换文件。
Thank you. At this point, we call on Chairman Eduardo Del Rosario of the Philippines Task Force Bangon Marawi, Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, and Chairman Wang Xiaotao of the China International Development Cooperation Agency for the exchange of letters on China Aid Bridge and Road Project in Marawi.
现在有请菲律宾住房和城市发展协调委员会有关邦扣马拉维的工作小组负责人 Rosario 先生和王小涛署长就有关中国提供大桥梁和道路项目在马拉维的项目提供援助交换文件。
Thank you. Now we call on Philippine Secretary of Finance Carlos G. Dominguez and Chairman Chen Si-ching of the Bank of China for the exchange of Memorandum of Understanding on Panda Bonds issuance.
现在有请菲律宾财政部长多米盖斯先生和中国银行陈思清董事长就有关熊猫债发行备忘录交换文件。
Thank you very much.
谢谢。
At this point, may we call on Administrator Reynaldo Velasco of the Philippines Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System and Hu Xiaolian of the Export and Import Bank of China for the exchange of loan agreement on new Centennial Water Source Kaliwa Dam Project.
现在有请菲律宾有关水处理和下水道设施管理署的署长Valesco 先生和中国进出口银行胡小练董事长就有关新百年水利卡廖瓦和卡廖瓦大坝项目贷款协议交换意见、交换文件。
Thank you. At this moment, we call on Philippine Secretary of Interior and Local Government Eduardo Anyo and Chairman Yang Ji of China Telecom Corporation Limited for the exchange of commercial contract of Safe Philippines Project Phase 1.
现在有请菲律宾内政和地方政府部的部长 Eduardo Ano 先生和中国电信董事长杨杰先生就有关安全菲律宾项目第一阶段交换商业合同。
Thank you.
谢谢。
Now we call on Administrator Reynaldo Velasco of the Philippines Metropolitan Waterworks and Sewerage System and Wang Jianping of the China Energy Engineering Group for the exchange of commercial contract of the new Centennial Water Source Kaliwa Dam project.
现在有请菲律宾有关的城市水管道和污水系统的负责人和中国能源工程集团公司的董事长王建平就有关新百年水利和卡拉瓦大坝项目交换商业合同。
Thank you.
谢谢。
Now may we call on Mr. Vivencio Dizon, President of the Basis Conversion and Development Authority of the Philippines, and Wang Jianping of the China Energy Engineering Group for the exchange of framework agreement for industrial park between BCDA and Gejuba.
现在有请 Vivencio Dizon 先生，他是基地转换和开发署的署长，和王建平先生。 中国能源建设集团董事长就有关BCDA 和葛洲坝签署矿建建立工业园区签署框架协议交换文件。
Thank you. Now may we call on Philippine Secretary of Transportation Arthur Tugade and Chairman Liu Wei-kun of China Railway Design Corporation Limited for the exchange of contract for the project management consultancy of the Philippine National Railway South Long Haul Project North-South Railway Project.
现在有请菲律宾交通部长 Arthur Tugade 和中国铁路设计集团董事长刘文群先生就有关菲律宾国家铁路南部长途项目管理咨询合同交换文件。
Thank you very much. Now we call on the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Deputy Governor for Financial Supervision Sector, Chuchi Funasie, and Bank of China Chairman Chen Si-king to hand over the letter of no objection to the organization of the Renminbi Philippine Peso Foreign Exchange Trading Market.
现在有请菲律宾中央银行副行长Fonasie 先生和中国银行董事长陈思清先生就有关人民币和比索外汇交易市场交换无异议函。
Thank you. Lastly, but certainly not the least, we call back Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Deputy Governor for Financial Supervision Sector, Chuchi Funasie, and Chairman Yi Hui Man of the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China for the handover of Certificate of Authority to operate for the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China Limited, Manila Branch.
现在有请菲律宾央行副行长，同时也是金融监管的负责人，向中国工商银行董事长易会满先生，递交有关允许中国工商银行在马尼拉开办分行业务的批准书。
Thank you very much. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, that ends the exchange of signed agreement ceremony. We would like to once again thank their Excellencies President Rodrigo Oroa Duterte and President Xi Jinping for witnessing this historic event. Thank you. Sheshe Salamat.
阁下们、女士们、先生们、尊敬的来宾们，有关的协议证书交换仪式到此结束。再次感谢杜特尔总统和习近平主席莅临参加见证，谢谢。
An exchange of 29 signed bilateral agreements ranging from trade and investment, banking and finance, infrastructure, agriculture, culture, and people-to-people exchange that was witnessed by Chinese President Xi Jinping, who is the visiting head of state on a state visit, and President Duterte. Live pictures still from Malacanang. We are expecting, we've been told that they are going to be issued. I'm sorry, this is the video taken earlier just before the exchange of signed bilateral agreements. But we are told that President Xi and President Duterte are supposed to issue a joint press statement. We're going to be on standby for that. This is Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Two senators calling on Malacanang to release the draft of an oil exploration deal with China. And a survey showing most Filipinos do not agree with how the Duterte government is handling territorial disputes in the South China Sea. We'll be right back. This is Newsnight on CNN Philippines. Two senators pushing for the release of a draft joint exploration deal with China. Senators Antonio Trillanes and Kiko Pangilinan filed a resolution Sunday urging to see the draft of the oil and gas exploration agreement with China in the West Philippine Sea before it's signed. Senators say there are allegations it was China that produced the draft. They add the document supposedly states that exploration, development, and utilization of resources will be jointly decided by the two countries. But Trillanes and Pangilinan point out it would be a violation of the Constitution as it promotes co-ownership of the West Philippine Sea.
So we need transparency at magpapatawag tayo ng Senate investigation along those lines. We are demanding for transparency. Ano ba yung pipirma niya? Baka masusubo na tayo kaagad dyan. So we're calling them out. Walang consultations nangyari with the legislature. Alam niyo to si Duterte kung ano-anong mga transaksyon na palugi na ang pinasok. Kaya hindi ako magtataka na papasok na naman yan sa isang transaksyon na pagbabayaran ng mga kababayan natin for the decades to come.
In a statement, Malacanang says the release of documents would be premature, given that the officials have yet to sign the agreement. Presidential spokesman Sal Panelo also argued whoever the author of the draft is irrelevant, since it will still be reviewed by the government. Panelo assured any deal signed by the government would serve the country's interests and will be constitutional. Malacanang slams a new survey that shows more Filipinos opposing what the survey calls as, quote, the government seeming inaction on China's intrusion in claimed territories in the South China Sea. Based on the latest social weather station survey, 8 out of 10 Filipinos, or 84% of the respondents, say it is not right to just leave China alone with its infrastructure and military presence in claimed countries. Claimed territories. The rest say otherwise. The survey also shows more Filipinos now aware of the West Philippine Sea conflict. From 81% in June, this rose to 89% this month. The survey was conducted from September 15th to the 23rd among 1,500 respondents. In a statement, presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo says the survey question is misleading.
The question as crafted seems to mislead. It suggests that this government is not doing anything. Plus, the criticisms has been going in media, criticizing the president for not doing anything. But the problem with them is that they seem not to know exactly the strategy of the president. The president is very careful, but diplomatic at the same time. But foremost in his mind is the safety of the Filipinos.
He also asks why the survey results were released on the day of the Chinese president's arrival in the country. Moments ago, President Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping witnessing the signing of the exchange of signed agreements in Malacanang. To help us make sense of everything that's happened so far today, we have with us tonight political analyst Dindo Manhit. Dindo, thank you for staying with us beyond the time that was set earlier. But Dindo, so earlier we were talking about President Xi's visit, and now we have a clear view, if you will, without any real details, of the 29 agreements that were, signed agreements, and then there was an exchange of that. What do you think so far, based on what we've heard?
These are big steps. It involves different areas of our government, be it social sector, infrastructure, and even a possible exploration of resources in our own territory. But again, as you have mentioned, these are agreements. I even heard the use of the word framework. So it reminds me of what frameworks are. These are basically, if you're talking about a house, it's simply talk about the design. So the actual implementation of this agreement is something that we need to look at.
Okay, sorry, Dindo, we need to go back to Malacanang. President Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping delivering a joint press statement right now.
It is an opportune time for our countries to celebrate the growing strength of our friendship and cooperation. With President Xi's visit, we reciprocate the warm welcome and gracious accommodation extended to me and my delegation during my state visit to China in 2016.
我们两国现在共同的来庆祝我们双边的友谊不断的增长，以及双边的合作进一步加强，正值良好的时候。在此，我们非常高兴能够欢迎习主席到访。这个呢，也是他对我在2016年对中国进行国事访问，当时向我和我代表团给予的极高规格的热情的欢待的一次回访。
In the past 2 years, we have worked hard to lay the cornerstones for the continued advancement of our beneficial cooperation in a wide range of areas.
在过去2年间，在众多广泛的领域，我们双方一起竭尽努力，为进一步的促进我们双方互利互惠的合作打下了良好的基石。
A lot of work remains, but President Xi's visit gives us new impetus of our mutual efforts to enhance collaboration in ensuring the well-being of our peoples and contributing to peace and stability in the region.
然而，我们尚需努力。习主席这次到访，为我们双方的共同努力进一步加强合作，确保我们两国人民的福祉，以及在我们地区进一步促进和平与稳定，注入了新的活力。
I am pleased with the current positive momentum of the Philippines-China relations.
我对菲律宾和中国现在双边关系的状况极为满意。
There is a deepening trust and confidence. Our governments and have greatly increased dialogue and interaction on many levels.
双方政府不断地加强了互信，而且呢，我们在各个层级开展了对话和互动。
This afternoon, President Xi and I discussed how we can further enhance functional cooperation in key work areas such as bilateral trade and two-way investments promotion.
今天下午，习主席和我一起回顾了取得的成绩，同时我们也讨论如何来进一步的加强今后在双边投资和贸易方面的合作。
We tackled infrastructure development, particularly China's participation in the projects under our Build program, which aims to bring about a golden age of infrastructure in our country.
我们今天下午同时也讨论了有关基础设施的发展，特别是呢，中国呢将进一步的参与菲律宾大建特建项目，以便支持我们的活动。
We also discussed our cooperation on the reconstruction and rehabilitation of Marawi and the Philippines' participation in China's Belt and Road Initiative.
我们今天下午还讨论了有关马拉维地区的重建和恢复的相关事宜，同时也讨论了菲律宾将进一步的参加中国的“一带一路”倡议。
We discussed mutual concerns on defense, security, maritime cooperation, law enforcement, transnational crime, as well as strengthening our partnership in combating the trafficking of illegal drugs.
我们同时也讨论了有关在安全和国防方面的共同的关注的事宜，同时我们也讨论如何进一步的打击跨国犯罪，特别是在有关打击非法毒品贩运方面开展的合作。
We touch on cooperation enhancing two-way tourism, agriculture, education, science, and technology and cultural exchanges.
我们在会谈当中也讨论了如何在有关科技、农业和教育等等领域方面和包括文化合作方面的合作事宜。
I personally conveyed to President Xi my appreciation of his valuable support to the Philippines' many initiatives in regional and international spheres, particularly during our ASEAN chairmanship last year and the Philippines' current country coordinatorship of Asian-China dialogue relations, leading to a sustainable code of conduct.
我个人赞赏了习主席，他对菲律宾和东盟我们担当主席国方面的时候所给予的宝贵的合作。当然，现在菲律宾也是在东盟中国对话关系当中担任协调国。
I also thank the Chinese government for its generous assistance during calamities such as the recent typhoon Umpong.
我们在此也来进一步的希望有关方面能够尽早达成有关南海行为准则。
With mutual respect, sincerity, and adherence to sovereign equality, I will continue to work closely with President Xi to deepen the relationship between our great countries so we may together secure a peaceful and prosperous future for both our peoples and for the entire region.
本着相互尊重，本着充满的诚意，以及本着进一步的尊重国家平等的这样一条原则，我将继续同习主席紧密的合作，以便进一步的加强我们两个伟大国家之间的双边的关系，以便能够让我们一起为我们的人民、为整个地区赢得和平和繁荣。
Thank you very much.
非常感谢。
尊敬的杜特尔特总统，各位记者朋友、女士们、先生们，大家下午好。很高兴应杜特尔特总统邀请访问菲律宾。对这次的访问，我期待已久，中菲各界也期待已久。
Your Excellency President Duterte, friends of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my distinct pleasure to visit the Philippines at the invitation of President Duterte. I have been looking forward to this visit for a long time, as I'm sure have people in both of our countries.
首先，我仅代表中国政府和中国人民，并以我个人的名义，向全体菲律宾人民致以诚挚的问候和良好的祝愿。
First of all, on behalf of the Chinese government and people, as well as in my own name, I would like to send my most sincere greetings and best wishes to all the people of the Philippines.
刚才我同杜特尔特总统进行了友好、深入而富有成果的会谈，共同规划双边关系未来发展，绘制中菲合作宏伟蓝图。我们一致同意将中菲关系提升为全面战略合作关系， 为未来两国关系发展明确方向，向世界传递中非携手并进、共谋发展的强烈信号。
Just now, the President and I had a friendly, in-depth and a productive meeting. We charted the future course of China-Philippines relations and drew an ambitious blueprint for its development. The President and I both agreed to elevate our relationship into one of comprehensive strategic cooperation. This vision charts a clear course for China-Philippines relations and sends a strong message to the world that our two countries are partners in seeking common development.
大家一致认为，中非睦邻友好绵延千年，平等相待，互帮互助，患难与共一直是双边关系的主流，也是两国人民共同拥有的宝贵财富。事实再次证明，睦邻友好符合中非两国人民根本利益，也是地区各国人民的普遍愿望。无论国际风云如何变幻，我们都应该坚持这个大方向不动摇，并为之付出不懈努力。
Both sides are of the view that we have been good and close neighbors for thousands of years, that our relationship has been defined by equality, mutual assistance, and a common destiny, and that our strong relationship is a shared asset of the two peoples. Time and again, our experiences show that good neighborliness serves the fundamental interests of both nations and meets the shared aspiration of all in the region. However, the international situation may change. Both sides will remain committed to this relationship and work hard to make it even stronger.
万物并育而不相害，道并行而不相悖。双方一致认为，世界上没有放之四海而皆准的发展模式，各国均有选择自身发展道路的权利。杜特尔特总统执政以来，领导菲律宾人民积极探索和开辟适应时代潮流、符合自身实际的发展道路，为经济社会发展打开了广阔前景。我们对此表示尊重和支持。我们也愿意看到菲律宾在国际和地区事务中发挥更大的作用。
Recognizing the wisdom in the saying, all creatures may grow together without harming each other, all roads may run parallel without interfering with one another. Both sides agree that there is no one-size-fits-all development model and that every country has the right to choose its own path. I commend President Duterte for his leadership, under which the people of this country have actively searched for and found a development path in sync with the trend of the times and the Philippines' reality, and have created a bright prospect of economic and social development. China respects and supports your endeavors, and we would like to see the Philippines playing an even bigger role in regional and international affairs.
双方一致认为，中非同为亚洲发展中国家，面临相似发展任务，是同呼吸共命运的天然伙伴。双方将深化"一带一路"倡议同菲律宾发展战略对接，全面推进安全发展人文三大支柱领域合作，不断完善两国合作布局。我诚挚邀请杜特尔特总统明年赴华出席第2届"一带一路"国际合作高峰论坛，共商合作发展大计。
Both sides are of the view that as fellow developing countries in Asia, China and the Philippines face similar developmental challenges, which make us natural partners with a common destiny. The two sides will seek greater complementarity between China's Belt and Road Initiative and the Philippines' development strategy, move forward cooperation around the 3 pillars of security, development, and people-to-people ties, and make our cooperation more comprehensive and balanced. I have extended a sincere invitation to President Duterte to attend the second Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation, which China will host next year, to discuss China-Philippines cooperation.
中方将在力所能及范围内继续向菲律宾提供支持和帮助，在合作共赢、共同发展道路上结伴前行。中国将继续坚定支持菲律宾禁毒和反恐事业，帮助马拉维修建受损道路和桥梁，建设新的基础设施。中国将扩大进口菲律宾产品，把菲律宾椰子和冷冻水果列入进口清单。中国将于未来3年每年向菲律宾新增提供50个政府奖学金名额，启动实施菲律宾英语教师孵化工作安排，为帮助台风灾区人民早日渡过难关，中方将向菲律宾援助1万吨大米。
As our two countries forge ahead as win-win partners, China will continue to do its modest best to help and support the Philippines. Our support will come in many forms, from lending a hand to your counter-narcotics and counter-terrorism struggle, to helping to repair roads and bridges in Marawi and build new infrastructure there. China will import more goods from this country, and Philippine coconut and frozen fruits have been approved for export to China. China will provide another 50 government scholarship grants for Philippine students on an annual basis from 2019 to 2021, and will implement arrangements for Filipino teachers of the English language to work in China. Also, China will donate 10,000 tons of rice to help those communities devastated by Typhoon Umpon.
中菲在南海有广泛共同利益，应该继续通过友好协商管控分歧，推进海上务实合作。中菲两国将同东盟其他国家一道，在协商一致基础上，争取未来3年完成南海行为准则磋商，为地区和平稳定和人民福祉做出应有贡献。
China and the Philippines have a lot of common interests in the South China Sea. We will continue to manage contentious issues and promote maritime cooperation through friendly consultation. And we will work alongside other ASEAN countries towards the conclusion of the COC consultations based on consensus within 3 years, and contribute our share to peace, stability, and the welfare in this region.
双方一致认为，当今世界正经历100年未有之大变局，世界多极化、经济全球化深入发展，中菲两国要携手应对好新时代和平与发展问题，维护广大发展中国家利益，抵制保护主义和单边主义，共同维护亚洲和世界和平、稳定、繁荣。
Both sides believe that once-in-a-century shifts are underway around us, making the world more multipolar and the global economy more integrated. Faced with the big issues of peace and development, China and the Philippines must join hands to uphold the interests of the developing world, resist protectionism and unilateralism, and promote peace, stability, and prosperity in our region and beyond.
菲律宾国父黎萨说过：“如果不献身给一个伟大的理想，生命就毫无意义。”这句话道出了中菲两国人民的共同心声。展望未来，我们要坚定推进中菲睦邻友好关系行稳致远，共同谱写两国关系的新篇章。最后呢，我要对杜特尔特总统、菲律宾政府和人民对于我和代表团此访给予的热情周到的接待安排表示衷心的感谢。
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to quote the words of Dr. Jose Rizal. It is a useless life that is not consecrated to a great ideal. These stirring words of the founding father of the modern Philippines speak the mind of the Chinese as well as the Filipino people. Inspired by them, both countries must make determined efforts to promote good neighborly and cooperative relations and write a new chapter in China-Philippines ties. To conclude, I would like to offer sincere appreciation to the warm reception and the thoughtful arrangements made by President Duterte and the government and people of the Philippines for me and my delegation. Thank you.
President Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping making a joint press statement about the future of Philippine-China relations. Among the announcements made, China to donate some 10,000 tons of rice to Ompong devastated areas, referring of course to the typhoon that hit the northern part of the country. Also, before that joint statement was made, 29 agreements were signed, including one on oil and gas development, and also agreements pertaining to agriculture, infrastructure, education, and the like. Still with us here in the studio, Dindo Manhit, political analyst. Dindo, after listening to the words of President Xi and President Duterte, and listening to that, the litany of agreements that were signed today, what are your thoughts now?
Of course, as I've said, a long list, a lot of agreements, a lot of opportunities to build a stronger relationship. But it also creates high expectations. The government, the Duterte government, is 3.5 years given our one-term presidency. So what we're seeing here is what will happen, what can be executed as soon as possible time, and to be felt by the Filipino people. Because on one hand, you are trying to improve this relationship with a country that is considered to be least distrusted by our people. So the Filipino people would like to see something concrete in the near future, maybe not tomorrow, not next week. So that's the challenge of this government. Yeah. You create so much expectation by making the state visit such an important part. Canceling of classes in the city, opening para welcoming President Xi, that he deserves it as a leader of a big, strong nation. But as I've said, it's expectation. And I've always believed in public management, something that I teach in class, that you try to under-promise and over-deliver. What we're seeing here is there might be too much promises, agreements, that if we don't see them in the next few years, this will push the relationship backward.
Well, among the promises or the agreements, like you said, that I suppose attracts the most attention is the one with the oil and gas, joint exploration, oil and gas development. There's a lot of concern about that.
I think that's why we're still stuck with all the hype in the memorandum of agreement or understanding, because that's just, at the end of the day, an agreement to move forward, a framework or a design to move forward. I think what's challenging to our own government is that's why we have a constitution. A lot of people don't realize the constitution limits the powers of our own government. What does it mean? That in this case, the government cannot simply say that we will jointly explore a territory. In this case, why do we need to jointly explore a territory that is ours?
Yeah, okay.
Because
so what are you saying now?
That's
wedding.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think government lawyers will have a hard time if they continue to use the word joint exploration. Because what is within the powers of our own government is to subcontract or service contract the exploration of our resources.
Yeah.
So these are big steps that lawyers can look at, but will be challenging if we will use the word joint exploration.
Challenging meaning this can be brought to the Supreme Court.
Well, not only that, the idea of treason, the idea of giving up something to another country, because China will not do that on their own territory.
What are you saying when you mention the word treason? What are you saying?
Remember, there was this joint maritime seismic agreement in 2007, 2008, whereby there were cases that was filed against then President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo on this issue. So we have to learn those lessons. At times, we cannot overstep what the power authority that's being given as head of government or head of state of the Philippines.
Okay. When you, again, not just on the joint exploration, oil and gas development, listening to everything else, all the other agreements, the exchange of signed agreements, litanya nga parang never ending. Buti na lang title lang ang binasa, wala masyadong detalye.
The next step is we have to look at all these details. Media, academic institutions should start maybe making a table of what these agreements are, and let's monitor it, just like how people monitor the PPP programs of the previous government. Status, when was it launched? We need to see, because it's very clear. We had a shorter list of projects with Japan, but at least we know where it's going. Subway is quite interesting. The North-South commuter railway up to Clark. I mean, these are positive initiatives. Very clear. We can visualize it. So these are things that should be the next step of our government, to explain why we have given this red carpet treatment to a visiting head of state like China. Because expectations will be high. The day after is a challenge. What will happen with all these things?
Yeah, well, speaking of the day after, tomorrow he's supposed to meet with Tito Sotto and Gloria Arroyo. In terms of that meeting, what are you looking at? What do you expect? What are your expectations?
I think it's simply courtesy, because
courtesy.
That's the Philippine,
Kaya nga tawag courtesy.
Because that's the Philippine legislature.
Yeah.
I don't really see any value to that, because maybe the only difference is that in the Philippine setting, the legislature is independent of our president. That's the courtesy.
Yeah.
In China, we have to remind ourselves that power is concentrated on a National Assembly controlled by the Chinese Communist Party and the Politburo. That's why you're just dealing with President Xi.
Yeah, but it would be interesting to see Gloria Arroyo meeting with the Chinese president.
Yeah, it's
because she was president once. And
she was president once, and she favored China then. Remember North Rail? Remember other
ZTE.
So a lot of things that might remind us of not so good past.
All right. Dean Damanhit, political analyst, thank you again for being with us. Maraming salamat. I'll see you again at the top of the hour for the second edition of Newsnight. I'm Pio Ontiveros. This is Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. I'm Pio Ontiveros. Our top stories: President Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping witnessed the exchange of a number of signed agreements in Malacanang. Two senators pushing for the release of a draft joint oil and gas exploration deal with China. And find out why several Facebook users changed their profile pictures to Winnie the Pooh. Our top story: relations between the Philippines and regional power China take the spotlight today. That as Chinese President Xi Jinping is in the country for a two-day state visit. He met with President Rodrigo Duterte in Malacanang this afternoon. Moments ago, both leaders witnessed the exchange of more than 24 bilateral agreements. Our senior correspondent Inan Dolong is going to be reporting to us in just a bit. In a few minutes from now. But first, Chinese President Xi Jinping arriving in Manila before noon today. Philippine Ambassador to China, Chito Santa Romana, Chinese Ambassador to the Philippines, Zhao Jianhua, Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez, Armed Forces Chief General Carlito Galvez, and NAIA General Manager Ed Monreal welcoming Mr. Xi. In an arrival statement, the Chinese leader is saying he looks forward to meeting with President Duterte for, quote, an in-depth exchange of views on how to further strengthen China-Philippine relations and on regional and international issues of mutual interest. President Xi also mentioned his upcoming meeting with Senate President Tito Sotto and House Speaker Gloria Arroyo. He says he's convinced that his visit would strengthen bilateral ties toward a common development. Now, before proceeding to Malacanang for a welcome ceremony. Chinese President Xi Jinping visited Luneta Park. There he laid a wreath at the monument of Filipino national hero Jose Rizal. Dozens of Chinese tourists were also there to witness the visit. They waved their flags at the sight of their president. Chinese tourist Fiona Liu says they have high respect for President Xi and they're more than happy to see him up close in Manila.
I feel proud. I feel excited. I can't believe it. I think I hope the friendship between the two countries will be better and better. We hope that more and more Chinese can come to Philippines and more and more Philippines can go to China. The two countries can be their friends forever.
Meantime, groups descended on the Chinese consulate in Makati City to protest Mr. Xi's visit. Protesters chanted anti-China slogans while criticizing the Duterte administration for agreeing to allegedly questionable Chinese deals. Our senior correspondent David Santos reports.
Policemen form a human barricade outside this building that houses the Chinese consulate. Their aim, ensure it remains business as usual at the Makati Central Business District.
Siyempre, nire-respeto din natin yung kanilang karapatan at siyempre kami naman ay meron kaming trabaho na kailangan din gampanan.
Unlike in areas where President Xi Jinping is set to visit, security is more relaxed in Makati. Some Chinese nationals even have fun taking photos with policemen on duty. Minutes later, a caravan of anti-China demonstrators come marching in. They bear placards and streamers denouncing the Chinese government over many issues, including the long-standing territorial dispute on the South China Sea. Speaker after speaker, they criticize China's dead-trap diplomacy, exposing the Philippines to lone risks that could render its sovereignty vulnerable.
Hindi po dapat ginagawang collateral ang ating mga lupain, ang ating mga natural resources, kapalit ng pautang ng China.
Fishermen as well as cultural minorities who claim of being driven away from ancestral lands because of Chinese-funded infrastructure projects also speak out. Women's rights advocate May Paner takes a swipe at China's censorship, which has banned a cartoon character for its resemblance to Mr. Xi.
What kind of a man are you? Even Winnie the Pooh, you have no love for?
Upon hearing word on Mr. Xi's arrival just before midday, the protesters hold a noise barrage, hoping that even if they are several kilometers away, their outcry could reach the Chinese leader's ears. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
Netizens taking inspiration out of the 100-acre wood's most famous resident to poke fun at the Chinese president. Several Facebook users changing their profile pictures to Winnie the Pooh in reference to Mr. Xi. This photograph from June, Austria shows the cartoon bear reaching into a pot of honey. Jay Cervantes goes a step further. His photo shows Pooh sporting Mr. Xi's signature hairstyle, covered in honey and looking drunk. The pot next to him reads power. This picture shows a Chinese leader embracing President Duterte, depicted as Pooh's friend, Piglet. And finally, a bit of trivia from this netizen who says, quote, "Did you know that Winnie the Pooh is banned in China? Many activists have used Pooh to mock President Xi Jinping because of the resemblance between them." We now have our senior correspondent, Ina Andalong, joining us on the phone from Malacanang. Ina, tell us more about what happened today.
Yeah, President Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping witnessed the signing of 29 agreements between the Philippines and China. Now, right now, the two leaders are in a restricted meeting where the two of them will also be giving each other gifts. Now, we've yet to find out what the two of them will be giving to each other. Now, after that meeting, they will head to a state banquet, which will be hosted for the Chinese president. The two leaders will be delivering toasts there. Now, on the 29 agreements signed, these cover trade and investment, banking and finance, infrastructure, agriculture, culture, and people-to-people exchanges. It also includes a memorandum of agreement on cooperation on oil and gas development. We've yet to get a copy on that. Now, earlier, President Xi was welcomed by President Duterte at the Malacanang Open Grounds, where he was, or President Duterte, along with members of his cabinet and presidential daughter Sara Duterte, were in attendance. Now, the two leaders also attended an expanded bilateral meeting, and then they delivered joint or their press statements without answering questions or accepting questions from the media covering the event. Now, President Duterte, for his part, said he warmly welcomes President Xi. He says he called this visit this visit is more than a reciprocal visit. It's a historic occasion, considering that's the first state visit to be made by the Chinese president in 13 years. President Xi, for his part, said he's been looking forward to this for a long time. He also said that he shared what the two leaders discussed in their meetings. He said President Xi and they had a friendly and productive meeting where the two leaders charted the future course of Philippine-China relations, and where they also drafted a blueprint where they agreed to elevate the two countries' friendship into a strategic cooperation. Now, Pia, again, we're also waiting for the remarks that will be delivered by the two leaders in the state banquet, which will be held at the Rizal Hall of Malacanang. Pia?
Ina Dolongda reporting from Malacanang Palace. We appreciate all your online comments on our top stories tonight. Keep them coming to our pages at CNN Philippines. We're also live right now on Facebook. Two senators pushing for the release of a draft joint exploration deal with China. Senators Antonio Trillanes and Kiko Pangilinan filed a resolution Sunday urging the release of the draft of the oil and gas exploration agreement with China in the West Philippine Sea before it is signed. The senators say there are allegations it was China that produced the draft. They add the document supposedly states that exploration, development, and utilization of the resources will be jointly decided by the two countries. But Trillanes and Pangilinan point out it would be a violation of the Constitution as it promotes co-ownership of the West Philippine Sea.
So we need transparency at magpapatawag tayo ng Senate investigation along those lines. We are demanding for transparency. Ano ba yung pipirma niya? Baka masusubo na tayo kaagad dyan. So we're calling them out. Walang consultations nangyari with the legislature. Alam niyo to si Duterte kung ano-anong mga transaksyon na palugi na ang pinasok. Kaya hindi ako magtataka na papasok na naman yan sa isang transaksyon na pagbabayaran ng mga kababayan natin for the decades to come.
In a statement, Malacanang says the release of documents would be premature given that the officials have yet to sign the agreement. Presidential spokesman Sal Panelo also argued whoever the author of the draft is irrelevant since the draft will still be reviewed by the government. Panelo assured any deal signed by the government would serve the country's interests and will be constitutional. Malacanang slams a new survey that shows more Filipinos opposing what the survey calls as, quote, the government's seeming inaction on China's intrusion in claimed territories in the South China Sea. Based on the latest social weather station survey, 8 out of 10 Filipinos, or 84% of respondents, say it is not right to just leave China alone with its infrastructures and military presence in claimed territories. The rest say otherwise. The survey also shows more Filipinos are now aware of the West Philippine Sea conflict. From 81% in June, this rose to 89% this month. The survey was conducted from September 15 to 23 among 1,500 respondents. In a statement, presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo says the survey question is misleading.
The question as crafted seems to mislead. It suggests that this government is not doing anything. Plus, the criticisms has been going in media, criticizing the president for not doing anything. But the problem with them is that they seem not to know exactly the strategy of the president. The president is very careful, but diplomatic at the same time. But foremost in his mind is the safety of the Filipinos.
He also asks why the survey results were released on the day of the Chinese president's arrival in the country. That's it for tonight. Thank you for your time. I'm Pia Ontiveros. See you again tomorrow for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.